Chapter 665. Seeing that Lin Song was crippled, some people immediately became angry. What was the difference between this and death? In the ocean world, perhaps only the lowest-level fishers did not have much cultivation. When Lin Song woke up, he would probably feel that this was more painful than killing him. Immediately, a member of the pioneer group jumped out. Pioneer group, Man Hai, you hurt my brother. Today, I'll take your life. Man Hai was possessed by a serpent and held 2 sledgehammers. When the sledgehammers collided, the sound was ear-piercing and frightening. The half-mermaid still didn't move, pointing its harpoon at Man Hai with a provocative look. Man Hai roared, his eyes were red, and his body was burning with spiritual energy. This guy was actually burning his essence blood and spiritual energy to release a terrifying power. Clang! The 2 hammers were as powerful as Mount Tai, and the sound waves were rolling. The half-mermaid blocked the 2 sledgehammers with its harpoon and was blasted by Man Hai, sliding nearly 100 meters in the sea. Good. On the human side, a burst of cheers broke out. Man Hai's strength was formidable. This blow had definitely injured the inferior manfish. The white flame between the half-mermaid's eyebrows suddenly burst out with a dazzling light, as if to pierce Man Hai's mind. Oh, Man Hai roared. Do you think the same trick will work on me? Divine Dragon Tail Whip. A huge serpent appeared, and its big tail swept across, causing the water's surface to sink. God slaying. Puff. An extremely thin shadow suddenly shot out hundreds of meters into the sky. As for that light shadow, it seemed to have passed through Man Hai's head. Bam! The half-mermaid was whipped away by the serpent's tail, rolled dozens of times on the sea, and then managed to get up with difficulty. His physique was not weak at all. As for Man Hai, he suddenly fell into the sea. After being dragged back, Man Hai's eyes were dull. A hidden fisher glanced at him and shouted at the opposite side. Good, good, good. What a good trick. A sea monster has learned soul combat skills. Very good. Immediately, a hidden fisher shouted, those who attack again, be careful. If you don't want to die, don't hide your strength at all. Kill the opponent in one fell swoop. Yang Diu suddenly jumped out of the water and split the seawater apart with the heavenly axe in his hand. He roared, Son of a bitch, you dare to cripple 2 humans in front of me? You must be tired of living. As soon as Yang Diu appeared, everyone's attention was on him. Only Han Fei didn't care about it all. He had been paying attention to the remaining half-mermaids on the other side. At the moment when Yang Diu jumped out, 5 half-mermaids seemed to want to rush at him, but for some reason, they stopped. The half-mermaid who had already fought 2 rounds stood up again, and the white flame between its eyebrows flickered. Again, Yang Diu was so angry that he laughed. Hey, take my axe. A gigantic axe that was over 100 meters long slashed out with raging flames. The great axe had not yet arrived, but a huge axe mark had already appeared on the surface of the sea. Fuse. A big white fish suddenly appeared, and data appeared in Han Fei's eyes. Name, Hungong Fish, Companion Spirit. Introduction, a fish with hard scales and extremely thick flesh that can resist the bombardment of creatures of the same level. It can emit advanced energy waves from the top of its head, which can attack the soul. Level 45, quality, exotic, contains spiritual energy greater than 5,812 points. Effect, long-term consumption, can strengthen the body. Collectible transverse scales, unabsorbable with a swish. The half-mermaid's body was covered with a layer of white scales. On its head, there was even a single horn. Not only that, the white flame between its eyebrows suddenly enlarged dozens of times. Soul devouring. Opposite to the axe light was a huge white fish formed by a weird white mist. The white fish seemed to want to swallow Yang Diu in one bite. However, Yang Diu shouted, 2 axes to decide the universe. The first axe slashed at the half-mermaid, and the other party tried to resist it with its harpoon. Unfortunately, the harpoon, which was also an ultra-quality spiritual weapon, had been broken into 3 pieces at this moment. The scales on its body collapsed, and it was dripping with blood, but this axe was blocked by it. The second axe was originally aimed at the big white mist fish. However, the axe light couldn't touch the big white fish at all, and the big fish directly bit at Yang Diu through the axe light. Hey, do you really think you can hurt me with a soul attack? Do you think you can protect the will of the god of war? Yang Diu laughed, and a dazzling golden light suddenly appeared behind him, and a golden god of war more than 50 meters tall holding two axes suddenly appeared. The giant opened its mouth and directly swallowed the big white mist fish into its abdomen. On the sea, the half-mermaid failed to resist Yang Diu's second axe and was directly chopped into pieces. In terms of ferocity, even Han Fei had to admit the strength of this crazy Yang. He hadn't seen him for more than half a year, and this guy had become much stronger. Han Fei looked at the golden giant in astonishment. What the hell is that? Where did it come from? Luo Xiaobai explained. Just like the knife intent, he has cultivated his fighting intent into a will. However, it shouldn't be comprehended by him, but through a visualization diagram. Han Fei frowned. Another visualization diagram? Han Fei had to think of his god-scaring painting. This was also a visualization diagram, right? However, he hadn't even memorized 1/10 of it. He didn't know if this god-scaring painting would also become such an awesome giant after he completely memorized it. Okay, awesome. Yang Diu chopped a heavenly talent among the sea demons with two axes. At this moment, holding a big axe, he pointed at the half-mermaids. Come on, who else wants to come? The big axe in my hand can't wait any longer. On the half-mermaid side, many people seemed to be quite surprised. Some wanted to fight, but were held back. The leading half-mermaid on the opposite side shouted, "How about 10 people from each side?" Zheng Chaojie was waiting for this sentence. Geniuses were few and far between no matter which race they were in. After all, geniuses like Yang Diu were rare. Sending 10 people was exactly what he wanted. So, Zheng Chaojie snorted coldly. As you wish. Let's see who else you can send. Then Zheng Chaojie glanced at the crowd. Yang Diu, Sun Mu, Mo Fian, Wang Zetian, Jing Changfeng, Ming Kun, Han Fei, Xia Xiaochan, Zhao Lingjie, Zhou Haiyang. The 10 of you fight. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were selected to fight, but Luo Xiaobai and the others were excluded. Of course, some people were injured and hadn't recovered, but this was not the only reason. Han Fei couldn't help but narrow his eyes. It seemed that there were really a lot of geniuses in the crowd this time. As for Ming Kuan and Jing Changfeng, Han Fei was a little confused. Ming Kuan is okay, but Jing Changfeng is a little worse, isn't he? After the human side decided on the candidates, 10 half-mermaids appeared on the opposite side. Perhaps because their evolution was slightly more complete, the half-mermaids with higher demonic heritage looked pretty good if they didn't open their mouths. However, Han Fei felt that they all looked the same. After the roll call, a hidden fisher reminded, "Don't underestimate your opponent. Go all out." Ming Kuan stood next to Han Fei. Let's fight again when you have time." Han Fei smiled. Of course, anytime. Jing Changfeng was also defeated by Han Fei, but Jing Changfeng didn't intend to challenge Han Fei again, because Han Fei seemed to be stronger than him in every aspect, and it was certain that he couldn't beat him. Yang Diu was still holding a big axe and shouting, "Come on, who's next?" Those half-mermaids seemed to be eager to fight. Immediately, a beautiful female half-mermaid walked out. Her weapons were not harpoons, but 2 copper hammers. Looking at the female half-mermaid in front of him, she was the second woman Han Fei had seen who used a pair of hammers as weapons. One was Xiang Zuizhua, and the other was this one. Yang Diu cursed, "Is there no one else? Come on, a woman? Get out of here, or I'll chop you to death." The female half-mermaid didn't speak, but she suddenly raised her head. The whole sea surface surged, and under everyone's astonished gaze, a waterman climbed up from the water. When the waterman could fully stand up, it was 100 meters tall, holding 2 giant water-shaped sledgehammers in its hands, and stood behind the half-mermaid. Wow! Many people frowned. Damn, is this still a hanging fisher? Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. What were we fighting just now? If there were 100 sea monsters of this level, I'm afraid we might not have been able to defeat them just now. Chao Chio said with a black face. It's not big yellow croakers. How can there be so many? I guess there are only a few sea monsters with such aptitude. Mu Jia pulled Guan Qingyan and said, if we refine such a large spiritual weapon and fuse it into our bodies, do you think it'll work? The corners of Guan Qingyan's mouth twitched. Impossible. We can't control it with spiritual power. Mu Jia asked, what do you think if we capture a half-mermaid and seal it in? Guan Qingyan shook his head. Have you ever seen anyone seal a spirit with a half-mermaid? Mu Jia nodded. Then we can seal other creatures. Han Fei looked back at the two of them. We should at least seal a legendary creature, right? But if we refine such a large spiritual weapon, will it still be a spiritual weapon? When Han Fei heard Mu Jia's words just now, he was tempted. This thing didn't seem to be impossible. Why couldn't he refine a human-shaped weapon? It seemed to be a good idea to refine it and seal its spirit in it as a puppet. He had to admit that a refiner's brain was really good. Han Fei was tempted and was ready to give it a try when he went back. Of course, it should be impossible to refine such a large human-shaped spiritual weapon at the moment. First of all, the materials needed would be terrifying, and secondly, the spiritual energy consumed would probably be terrifying. However, in terms of materials alone, Han Fei didn't seem to be short of them. After all, Han Fei still had 2 fishbone pillars, 2 iron chains, and a 10,000-year-old big red trunk. He couldn't refine a 100-meter-long one, but a 10-meter-long one. Thinking about it, Han Fei couldn't help but grin. Xiao Xiaochan elbowed Han Fei. What are you thinking about? Han Fei immediately came back to his senses. Oh, nothing. I just think that every race has a heavenly talent. This half-mermaid seems to be very strong. 3rd chapter, asking for votes. By the way, you said that you would save up the monthly votes. Now you've already saved up 3 chapters. Into this chapter, chapter 666. Yang Diyu himself was a little confused. His will of the god of war was less than 50 meters high. The golden light looked dazzling, but it was actually very weak. If he could defeat his opponent, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, at this moment, what the hell was the opposite side? A 100-meter-tall waterman carrying 2 sledgehammers more than 20 meters long. Were all sea demons so fierce? Then what was he fighting in the Heaven Human Canyon just now? However, as Crazy Yang Diyu wouldn't stop. The big axes had already been slashed out. What if the man in the water was just putting on act? On the opposite side, the eyes of the female mermaid had turned white, and the 100-meter-tall giant also swung the sledgehammers. A battle of this level caused the hearts of the spectators to ripple. In this case, combat skills were not so important. The two seemed to be just competing in strength, but in fact it was not. Everyone could feel that there seemed to be an inexplicable artistic conception between the two giants. Xiao Xiaochan glanced at Han Fei. Does Yang Diyu's axe carry a little of your invincible fighting intent? Han Fei shook his head. No, it seems to be, but no, there seems to be a kind of arrogance in it. But it doesn't feel domineering. I think he hasn't learned it well. Xiao Xiaochan asked, what about that woman? I don't understand that. Is it because the artistic conception of sea demons is different from ours? Boom! Yang Diyu was retreating, and huge waves were set off on the sea. Yes, in terms of strength, this guy was no match for the female mermaid opposite him. Han Fei turned his head and found that there was blood dripping from Yang Diyu's hands. His face was already black and red. Looking at the female half-mermaid again, a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, but then the second hammer was launched. BM, BM, BM. The two fought 8 times in a row. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Yang Diyu couldn't beat this female half-mermaid. Even if he tried his best, he seemed to be no match for her in terms of strength and perception. The mermaid's giant hammer blasted Yang Diyu flying. The female half-mermaid had a slight advantage, but after 8 strikes, Yang Diyu vomited a mouthful of blood and was defeated. Next to Han Fei, Ming Kuan and Jing Changfeng were already stunned. They had never seen such a fighting style before. This was not like a fight between hanging fishers at all, but more like a fight between hidden fishers, as if a huge wave could be set off casually. Yang Diu, who was defeated, felt very ashamed. He was defeated by a seemingly fragile female half-mermaid. If you were a man, I could still accept it, but a woman. Yang Diu looked at Han Fei at first, but he thought to himself, if Han Fei wins, wouldn't it be a slap in the face? Immediately, Yang Diu shouted, Mo Fian, go kill this woman. Mo Fian's face turned green, and she couldn't wait to step on Yang Diu's face. In this kind of competition of strength, the man would definitely be the one to go. Mo Fian looked at Han Fei and couldn't help giggling. Han Fei, are you willing to let a girl like me fight such a violent woman? Han Fei was about to join the fight. He wondered if Mo Fian's water dragon roar could defeat the opponent. But on his side, there were only 10 people. Yang Diu had already been defeated. According to his understanding of the other people, only he should be a match for this female half-mermaid in terms of strength. However, if Mo Fian could chat with Han Fei normally, maybe Han Fei would have joined the fight. However, Xia Xiaochan suddenly shouted, just do it. Isn't your water dragon very powerful? Han Fei is the last one. Han Fei. Mo Fian was speechless. Last one. In this situation, of course, she should be the first one to go and defeat the opponent's strength-type player first. However, Xia Xiaochan refused him once. If she refused again, it would seem that the human side was evading each other. Someone immediately said, go first. Any internal conflicts can be solved after the fight. Mo Fian bit the bullet and went up. At this time, she naturally knew that she couldn't let the human side down. Han Fei said, the opponent is seriously injured. Fight hard. You can win. I believe in you. The corners of Mo Fian's mouth twitched, but the expression on her face became serious. Yang Diu, that fool, was a lunatic. He knew that the opponent was a strength-type player, but he still insisted on fighting her head-on. And as a scheming woman, Mo Fian certainly knew that she should defeat the opponent's body as soon as possible. It had to be said that the battle between women was never a direct confrontation. After Mo Fian came on the stage, she directly merged into the water. Han Fei scanned her with his perception, but didn't find her. The second time, Han Fei scanned her with the eyes of true vision, and with his perception, he determined Mo Fian's location. However, the opponent was a sea monster. No matter how familiar she was with the water, could she be more familiar with the water than a sea monster? Besides, the opponent's giant was also formed by water. It could be said that these two women were all water, and they started a battle without gunpowder. In everyone's perception, the water dragons were tumbling, and two huge water dragons were entangled in a battle with a huge water giant. On the sea, Mo Fian was still able to fight. However, when Mo Fian attacked, the opponent's companion spirit appeared. A whale? In Han Fei's vision, Data had already appeared. Name, Orca King Companion Spirit. Introduction, a bloodthirsty creature with extremely sharp teeth. The strongest Orca King's teeth can break divine weapons. Its skull is extremely hard, and it likes to collide with the enemy. Its strength is so great that it can crack flash stones. Level 46, Quality, Legendary, contains spiritual energy greater than 7,325 points. Edible effect, long-term consumption can strengthen one's physique. Collectible, Tiger King's sharp teeth, unabsorbable. Remarks, current strength, 2 million kilograms. Han Fei took in a deep breath, and his expression turned serious. Very powerful. We seem to have underestimated the half-mermaids. I'm afraid this is the real half-mermaid, and those we saw just now are probably just low-level half-mermaids with demonic heritage. They're not comparable to these at all. Also, when these sea monsters attack, they all seem to be able to use the power of water. I think I can learn from them. Han Fei frowned. That makes sense. At this moment, the Orca King directly rolled up a tsunami, pouncing on Mo Fian. Mo Fian glanced back. She was forced to fight it head-on, because once she dodged, the tsunami would hit her behind, and someone else would definitely take action. And if someone else took action, wouldn't it mean that she would lose? Humph! Mo Fian snorted, and a long sword with a sheath appeared on her waist. Although Mo Fian had been using swords, she only used soft swords, and her real weapon was the snake-shaped sword that looked like a chain. And this one had a sheath? Swish! She drew the sword, like a dragon. The sword in Mo Fian's hand reached 100 meters in an instant. It didn't just appear 100 meters away, but the length of the sword suddenly became hundreds of meters. Han Fei was dumbfounded. I have a 40-meter-long broadsword in my hand, so I can let you run 39 meters first. But this thing, a 100-meter-long sword, was really unheard of. At the moment she drew the sword, a water dragon soared into the sky, roaring and charging directly at the Orca King. Bam! Clang! And Mo Fian took 4 or 5 steps back in a row, staggering and almost falling. However, the Orca King was blown back by this blow. Seeing this scene, Han Fei couldn't help but narrow his eyes. This was probably Mo Fian's strongest blow, being able to repel the Orca King, which weighed 2 million kilograms, meant that Mo Fian's frontal combat ability was actually no weaker than Yang Diu's. Puff! Mo Fian clutched her chest, vomited a mouthful of blood, and said lightly, "I won." On the other side, when a female half-mermaid appeared on the surface of the sea, her face was full of black stripes, obviously poisoned. Han Fei immediately said, "Oh, this woman is quite strong. She's fighting underwater and on the surface." She actually let her spiritual beast sneak attack the half-mermaid. Xia Xiaochan snorted. "That's nothing. I can sneak attack it directly." Han Fei grinned. "That's your assassination skill. However, from today on, you can't underestimate them anymore. 2 battles in a row, 1 lost and 1 won. But in fact, the human side lost. Up to now, in 4 battles, they had lost 3 in a row. This time, although Mo Fian won, she was seriously injured and no longer had the power to fight. It was equivalent to using Yang Diu and Mo Fian to defeat one opponent. In the rear, many people in the crowd held their breath. Although Yang Diu and Mo Fian were only junior hanging fishers in terms of level, they were all children of big clans. The current situation really showed that the heavenly talents on the human side were a little weak. When the other side sent out a second person, it was no longer Han Fei and the others who took the initiative to fight, but Zheng Chaojie arranged for someone to fight. He said, "Zhou Haiyang, you fight." After a while, everyone knew why. The half-mermaid on the other side was not as strong as the previous one, so Adjudicator Zheng selected him to fight. Han Fei didn't know this Zhou Haiyang, but he was extremely fierce in fighting. Despite being seriously injured, he pierced the heart of the opposite half-mermaid with a knife. Zhang Xuanyu said via voice transmission, he is from the Trans-Island Patrol Team. In fact, he is very famous. Han Fei nodded. Yes, but unfortunately, he is also seriously injured. Immediately afterward, Jing Chongfeng came out. His ghost god chain was completely suppressed by the opponent's water control technique. After a stalemate of about 2 minutes, he was nailed to the bottom of the sea by a harpoon, and Luo Xiaobai pulled him back. Ming Kuan followed closely behind and barely won with a mad blood-burning technique. Immediately afterward, Zhao Lingjie was defeated and killed on the spot. 2 swords came out and killed the opponent on the spot with only 2 sword strikes. 2 swords was seriously injured in the second round, won another round, and was also seriously injured. At this point, there were only 3 people left on Han Fei's side, while the other side had 5 people left. At this moment, Han Fei's eyes fell on one of the male half-mermaids. That person gave him a strong feeling. Next to him was another petite female half-mermaid. Han Fei glanced at Sun Mu and then at Xia Xiaochan. "Forget it. My strength no longer allows me to keep a low profile. Leave this person to me." Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 667. Just when Han Fei was about to make a move, suddenly Sun Mu said, "I'll do it. I'll leave the woman to you." Han Fei frowned. "What do you mean? You mean the small half-mermaid?" Han Fei paused for a moment. "Although I also want to kill you. That male half-mermaid is obviously the strongest." Sun Mu glanced at Han Fei. "That little one is the strongest." Han Fei frowned and immediately looked back at the smaller half-mermaid, only to find that the smaller half-mermaid kept glancing at the 3 of them and didn't seem nervous at all. Han Fei turned his head and looked at Sun Mu. How did you know? Sun Mu's expression was solemn. I've been paying attention to that woman from the very beginning. From the beginning to the end, she was only serious a few times. Han Fei sneered. So, you left the hardest part to me? Sun Mu said, I left it to you because I trust you. Han Fei sneered. Trust me, I will still kill you. While they were talking, the male half-mermaid had already walked out. He stretched out one hand, and a shiny golden harpoon appeared in his hand. Who's up? In the rear, when Zheng Chaojie and the others saw the golden harpoon, their eyes suddenly narrowed. Zheng Chaojie shouted, How extravagant! Even a divine weapon has been taken out. This kid is probably the trump card that you've prepared, right? Divine weapon? Everyone who participated in this operation could not help but exclaim in surprise. In particular, Guan Xinyan's eyes lit up and he immediately said, This is a semi-divine weapon, which can also be called a divine weapon. No spiritual weapon can resist the power of a divine weapon. Even spirit artifacts with sealed spirits are easily damaged. Mujiara, what to do? I have nothing. It's not that you don't have any, but it's extremely difficult for humans to obtain divine weapons. Even if it's a semi-divine weapon, the powerhouses don't even have enough for themselves. How could it be passed down? However, he didn't know that he had no time to eavesdrop on other people's voice transmissions. Moreover, he was shocked by Adjudicator Zhang's divine weapon. Why was it so rich? It even has a divine weapon? On Zheng Chaojie's side, he immediately took out a long sword. The body of the sword spread like raging flames. As soon as the sword appeared, it reeked of blood. Opposite, the half-mermaid leader roared, What do you want? Help them? Zheng Chaojie snorted coldly. Good move. In order to win, you don't even care about your face, do you? The half-mermaid leader asked back. That's because we're willing to. Can your human race bear to do so? Sun Mu suddenly turned around and said, Thank you, Lord Adjudicator, for your kindness. However, there was no need for that. The immortal slaying sword formation has never relied on weapons to win. Zheng Chaojie frowned. If you can't win, you can retreat. Sun Mu nodded and glanced at Han Fei. I can only stall this one. The rest is yours. After saying that, Sun Mu took a step forward and the 108 swords immediately left his body. Different from when Han Fei fought before, Sun Mu's 108 swords were all ultra-quality spiritual weapons with sealed spirits. One step of the sword formation fell. When the spiritual beasts fused with each other, Han Fei only saw spots of starlight around the array, but he didn't know what Sun Mu's spiritual beast was. With 3 steps, many mirrors seemed to appear in the air. What kind of contracted life form was this? Han Fei didn't know either. The 4th step, immortal slaying sword chi. The 5th step, immortal guides the way. The 6th step, red light shone everywhere. The 7th step, 10,000 swords become one. Han Fei couldn't help but exclaim, Sun Mu has only prepared one blow. After one blow, he will either win or lose. This time, he has learned his lesson. Behind him, the crowd exclaimed, Yang Diyu cursed. Sun Mu is going to risk his life with just one blow. Mo Fian looked solemn. This blow, is he going to let Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan deal with the other 4 people? Zhang Xuanyu cursed. Son of a B asterisk Tisich. No wonder this kid wants to attack first. He's throwing the pot away. Luo Xiaobai frowned and looked at Sun Mu angrily. Although she usually wouldn't get angry, at this moment, she was a little angry. A hidden fissure frowned. This sword is strong, but there are still 4 people on the other side. Is he so confident that Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan can win? No one knew what Zheng Chaojie was thinking, but he didn't move at all. Above the sea, within 500 meters of Sun Mu, starlight flickered. Under the reflection of countless mirrors, there was starlight everywhere. That sword of his had condensed all of his aura. The dense killing intent in the sword caused everyone to be moved. Han Fei's eyes fell on the short half-mermaid opposite him. This woman's expression became rare at this moment. She raised a hand slightly, which was keenly noticed by Han Fei. The female half-mermaid seemed to feel Han Fei's gaze and glanced at him lightly. On the field, At the same time as Sun Mu attacked, the male half-mermaid's body was burning with white flames. Then there was a dragon roar, and a horn grew out of his head, shaped like a sharp knife. On the golden harpoon in his hand, spiritual energy was boiling. The sea was sunken without any wind, and ripples piled up as if there was an earthquake. Dong, dong, dong. Han Fei knew what this feeling was. This half-mermaid was accumulating power, and the surrounding spiritual energy was crazily sweeping into his body. A layer of golden light enveloped him, as if turning him into a golden man, extremely sacred. At the same time, a golden battle suit appeared on his body. F*CK, there's a divine battle suit? The crowd was in an uproar, and Han Fei was speechless. This is F*King expensive. However, Sun Mu was unmoved and shouted in a low voice, "Merge into one." Sun Mu had already stabbed out with his sword. However, the sword was no longer a sword, but a red sword shadow. Breaking through the layers of shock waves, he charged forward with a shocking battle intent that could slay the enemy with a single sword strike. Xia Xiaochan glanced at Sun Mu. "If there's a chance, we can't let this person live." Han Fei scoffed. "It's okay. At that time, let's see whether my invincible fighting intent is stronger or his killing intent is stronger." Maybe it was Han Fei's illusion, but Han Fei suddenly said, "Have you found that it seems that only hanging fishers really set foot on the beginning of cultivation in this world? The battle we saw today is not comparable to that of ordinary hanging fishers at all." Xia Xiaochan nodded. "Teacher said that a long time ago, but this is the first time I've experienced it." Not only did Han Fei and the others feel it, but everyone who witnessed all this seemed to have an illusion at this moment. The giant, the shocking sword intent, and the sacred golden harpoon were so gorgeous that the world seemed to be eclipsed. The golden harpoon of the half-mermaid, like a drop of water falling on a mirror-smooth water surface, collided with Sun Mu's sword. There was no sound, only a strange force, like a ripple, exploded around the place where the weapons collided. The seawater was cut. The ripple blasted into the Heaven-Human Canyon a kilometer below, and a big centipede that was nibbling the half-mermaid that had just died there was instantly cut into two pieces. Puff! Sun Mu vomited a mouthful of blood, but he didn't retreat. The half-mermaid didn't retreat at all, and blood flowed from its 7 orifices. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Suddenly, the knife-like horn on the half-mermaid's head slashed out a white light. Bam! Sun Mu retreated quickly, and the ultra-quality battle suit on his body flew in front of him. However, there was a smile at the corner of his mouth. Behind the half-mermaid, in a mirror, spots of starlight instantly gathered, and a sword that was exactly the same as the one just now stabbed at the half-mermaid from behind. Hiss! Even Han Fei's eyelids couldn't help but twitch. Copy! That F*King starlight could become Sun Mu's strongest blow again. It was equivalent to Sun Mu being able to perform his strongest blow twice. And that mirror reminded Han Fei of Xiao Sei. In a long river of time, the reverse light technique that was taken away by the big-time dragon carp could connect space. The half-mermaid finally moved, but it had no time to look back. Thus, a strange white fish that looked like a white dragon collided with the coalescence sword with its single horn. Clang! Puff! The big fish's single horn exploded, and its head was directly split open. The half-mermaid bombarded with the golden harpoon with all its strength and retreated 100 meters on the sea surface. Its arm was dripping with blood, but it still managed to resist Sun Mu's killer move. Hiss! On the opposite side, the remaining 4 half-mermaids were furious. One of them appeared directly on the field, hugged the half-mermaid who was constantly vomiting blood, and roared at Sun Mu angrily. Puff! Sun Mu retreated, his chest covered with blood. Emofian caught him. "You really hid your strength well." Sun Mu looked at Han Fei. "I told you to stop him. The rest are yours." Han Fei narrowed his eyes, but Xia Xiaochan took a step forward first, and Han Fei quickly stopped her. "Come back." She was pulled back by Han Fei. Han Fei shook his head slightly. He didn't intend to let Xia Xiaochan fight. These half-mermaids were not weak and could be said to be extremely strong. Han Fei was confident that he could stop one, two, or even three of them. However, would a giant arowana be exposed? Xia Xiaochan's dual spiritual beast could be exposed. But what if, as he had guessed, the giant arowana was not a spiritual beast? What if the giant arowana was a companion spirit? What if Xia Xiaochan got sick while fighting in the jungle? Han Fei didn't want to take this risk. Even if Xia Xiaochan really had dual spiritual beasts, who could resist such a possibility? If the group of people behind him found out that there was something wrong with Xia Xiaochan, things would be troublesome. In order to test whether he was a sea demon, Zhang Teng of the Scattered Stars prison, a 7-star powerhouse, pretended to be crazy and stayed in the cage with him for 2 days. It could be seen how deep the hatred between sea demons and humans was. Xia Xiaochan wanted to get rid of Han Fei, but found that she couldn't. Xia Xiaochan looked back. "I can do it," Han Fei said firmly. "Go back. I'll take care of the next battle." Second, asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 668. Han Fei grabbed Xia Xiaochan and threw her directly to Luo Xiaobai. "Catch her!" Xia Xiaochan shouted angrily. Han Fei. Han Fei turned around and grinned. "No problem. They're just 4 half-mermaids. Watch me." In the crowd, a large number of people were speechless. What do you mean by just 4 half-mermaids? Look at these half-mermaids. None of them are easy to deal with. Zheng Chaojie looked at Han Fei. Nonsense. However, Zheng Chaojie didn't stop him. He was just a little surprised. This time, he originally wanted to hide a few people, so he was a little more conservative in choosing people when he went out to fight. Because he knew something that others didn't know, he knew that Xia Xiaochan was actually very strong. But who knew that Han Fei would stand up for her? Han Fei sneered. "I promise I'll take her down." In the crowd, Mu Jia covered her mouth and said, "This liar, he must be crazy. Is he going to fight 4 alone?" The corners of Guan Qingyin's mouth twitched, and he analyzed rationally. Only if Xia Xiaochan stays on the field will he have a chance of winning. Among the others, the seriously injured Chu Sun grinned. "Can this guy do it?" Lu Wei scoffed. "Son of a B***th. This guy can't be treated as an ordinary person. If he dares to go, he must have a reason." Gong Yuehan had a complicated look in her eyes. In fact, after she came to the Scattered Stars Island, her performance was not very good. It was just that in the Heavenly Human Canyon, she led a team of people and was quite strong. However, Han Fei stood up in the Level 3 fishery and Luo Xiaobai stood up in the Heavenly Human Canyon. Therefore, no one discovered her excellence. At this time, after seeing the powerful attack just now, Han Fei still dared to go out alone and claimed that he could defeat the remaining 4 people on the opposite side. Could he do it? She didn't know, but few people could match his domineering attitude. Han Fei thought for a while and didn't use the million knife art. Instead, he summoned the blood-drinking knife and hung it on his waist. On the field, Han Fei said with a smile, "Who's the first one?" Han Fei looked at the smallest female half-mermaid. Previously, he thought that the man who had just been defeated was the strongest. But now, after Sun Mu's reminder, Han Fei also found that the smallest one might be the strongest. So at this moment, Han Fei was provoking them. It was best to get rid of the strongest one right from the start. In this way, he would flaunt his powerful aura and confidence in the following battles, and he would be successful in every endeavor. Unfortunately, the female half-mermaid just looked at Han Fei and didn't make a move. It was another male half-mermaid who came out. This person was no longer using a golden harpoon. Han Fei was relieved. Han Fei said with a smile, "Not bad. If all of you took out your golden harpoons, I would have admitted defeat. Unfortunately, it's not gold." The half-mermaid glanced at Han Fei. "I'll kill you too." The half-mermaid raised its harpoon high. In the sky, the sunlight shone down and actually burned this person. Even his hair was burning. Han Fei's eyes glittered. "Hey, how did you manage to attract the heavenly fire into your body? How about we exchange some pointers?" "Exchange? All right." As soon as the half-mermaid finished speaking, the sunbeam shot down again. However, this time, it didn't fall on him but on Han Fei. No matter how fast Han Fei was, he couldn't be faster than the sun. Could he? So all of a sudden, a raging flame ignited on his body. His battle suit was scarlet, and he looked like a man walking out of the flames. Han Fei's first thought was to jump into the water, but the next second, he let out a sigh of relief. He thought it was the scorching power attracted by the void fishing technique. It turned out not to be. This was just a flame with a relatively high temperature. If someone knew that Han Fei had been baptized by Run Tianfin's magma in the abyssal chasm, they would think that this level of flame was nothing to Han Fei. Behind him, only Mu Jia shouted stupidly, "Liar, hide in the water." However, Han Fei stretched himself lazily and said, "Well, not bad, it's quite warm. Do you still want to attack? If you don't, I'll do it." The half-mermaid's face changed slightly. Even the smallest half-mermaid over there wrinkled its nose slightly. This man is a bit arrogant. Fiery dragon array. Under Han Fei's feet, flames gathered into a large array in all directions. With the soaring flames burning, Han Fei's whole body was bathed in endless flames. Lu Renkuang roared, "Oh, hurry up and attack." It made my heart beat faster. Zhang Xuanyu said, "Fei, although I know this may be very cool, we really look a bit scared." In the flames, a voice came out. "Really? Then let's fight." When Han Fei said the word, "Let's fight," the harpoon of the half-mermaid bloomed with crimson light, and the red light gushing out was as gorgeous and cruel as the sunset, dyeing the sea red. The harpoon was crimson, rolling up magma-like liquid. However, before the half-mermaid fully prepared, a knife light suddenly appeared half a meter in front of him. Hiss! The half-mermaid was taken aback by the sudden appearance of the knife light. His first reaction was to block it with his harpoon. As long as he blocked this blow, it would be time for him to counterattack. However, when the knife light touched his harpoon, he found an unparalleled fear, as if from a huge mouth in the abyss, making him unable to resist at all. Puff! The harpoon broke. A line of blood appeared from the half-mermaid's head to its thigh. In Han Fei's first battle, a half-mermaid who played with fire died with one blow. Hiss! He's so F***king strong. In the crowd, many people were shocked, and someone murmured, "Is this blow so terrifying?" Someone swallowed. "Oh my, if I had known he was so strong, I would have let him fight in the first battle." Mu Jia jumped up in surprise. "Wow, is this liar so strong?" Guan Xinyan's eyes flickered. "I knew he was strong, but I didn't expect him to be this strong." Gong Yuan let out a long breath. This guy really can't relax. Behind Zheng Chaojia, someone was speechless. This kid has mastered the air-breaking strike? How is it possible? He's just a junior hanging fisher. That's undoubtedly the air-breaking strike, but have you noticed it? There's an indescribable artistic conception in Han Fei's saber. Someone said, "It doesn't look like knife intent." Yes, the knife intent is very special. But I don't feel anything special about this kid's knife. Zheng Chaojia said slowly, "If I'm not mistaken, I'm afraid this is the art of invincibility." The art of invincibility? The hidden fishers widened their eyes. "No, old Zheng, are you sure you didn't see it wrong? Old Zheng, have you ever seen the art of invincibility? Is the art of invincibility like this?" Zheng Chaojia frowned. "I'm not sure. However, even if this is not the art of invincibility, there's a hint of the art of invincibility in it, which is similar to the rumor description." The flame array was still burning, and Han Fei walked out of the flames empty-handed. At that moment, Han Fei was like a god of war born from the flames, dazzling, domineering, and imposing. "What the hell? You're just a fish. Why are you playing with fire instead of water?" Han Fei gently stroked the ends of his hair with his fingers, and some flames were dissipating. Next, who's next? The petite half-mermaid seemed to want to fight, but seemed to be stopped. Han Fei saw it, but didn't care. When a tall female half-mermaid walked out, Han Fei put his hand on his waist. Connected. The half-mermaid's body flickered with white light, and it had just fused with its companion's spirit. Han Fei's aura suddenly exploded, as if it had risen several times in an instant. Then, a knife light was printed in front of the opponent's eyes. Puff! The second half-mermaid was killed before it even had a chance to attack. Shoot! On the opposite side, the eyes of the half-mermaid leader suddenly burst out with a strange light. Humph! The petite half-mermaid couldn't sit still and seemed to want to come out, but it was still suppressed. On the human side, someone was asking, "Who the hell can tell me? What's this guy's name?" That's the kind of friend I lack. The disciples of the 7 major sects smiled bitterly. Is this guy a monster? Has he become so strong? Sun Mu was speechless. Did I Asterisk King hit the wrong person just now? One slash, without even taking a breath, and he was dead? Zheng Chaojia and the group of hidden fishers were also dumbfounded. After a long time, someone said, "Is this the secret method?" Someone frowned. An instantaneous burst-type secret method? But this time is too short, isn't it? Zheng Chaojia frowned and said, "No, it's strong, but Han Fei must have consumed a lot of energy." Luo Xiaobai and the others knew it very well. Just now, Han Fei activated the majestic mystic spell and then forcibly dispersed it. If it weren't for Han Fei's terrifying physique, most people would have suffered a backlash immediately. Xia Xiaochan frowned. Why did he use a secret method now? Let's wait and see. At this moment, Han Fei was looking at the petite half-mermaid with a smile. Are you going to come out? Why do you want your companion to die? Come out. Let's go home after the battle, okay? The petite half-mermaid looked at the leader. I know. The leading half-mermaid refused directly, not giving her a chance to speak at all. Han Fei frowned slightly. He was accumulating power. In order to accumulate power, he didn't hesitate to kill 2 people with 2 slashes. These 2 slashes consumed 50% of the energy in his body. But it was also these 2 slashes that made his energy climb to a peak. If he used another slash, this peak would continue to rise. But when he saw the third half-mermaid come out, he knew that it was impossible for him to kill 4 enemies by himself. Han Fei grinned. Humans, you can't beat those who are too excellent. Come up and die. The third update. Please vote. I'm saving up for more updates. Don't panic. The exciting scenes will come one after another. End of this chapter. Chapter 669. As soon as the third half-mermaid appeared, it split into 18 clones, which stunned Han Fei. Han Fei's eyes lit up, and he activated the eyes of true vision, trying to observe the real body with spiritual energy. As a result, Han Fei found that the real body was moving back and forth among the 18 clones. Han Fei immediately shook his head and smiled. You're good. I really can't cut 18 times. Swish! 99 blue sea wandering dragon daggers appeared. Then, Han Fei also threw out the blood-drinking knife. Then, Han Fei took out 2 more knives. Although they were not blue sea wandering dragon daggers, they were also ultra-quality spiritual weapons. An average of 6 blue sea wandering dragon daggers swept at 17 of the clones, and a bow appeared in Han Fei's hand. Everyone was speechless. How many ultra-quality spiritual weapons does he have? Someone smacked his lips and said, Refiners are all big shots. We can't afford to offend them. This is a crushing of weapons. Let's see how the half-mermaid responds. Sure enough, the half-mermaid was also stunned. Han Fei had forced him to choose a clone without a knife to attack. The 17 clones dove into the water and fled in a dozen directions. Bones appeared on the half-mermaid's body. Han Fei was stunned to see a large number of bones. Wasn't this the spiritual beast of Mo Qianshang who was killed by him? No, it's weaker than Mo Qianshang's. These bones didn't completely wrap it, and the shape was different from Mo Qianshang's, with many parts of its body exposed. The half-mermaid buckled the harpoon with a chain and took the lead to attack Han Fei, not giving Han Fei a chance to shoot an arrow. And Han Fei's figure changed strangely, which seemed to be the combat movement technique of the 108 Desolate God Body. In fact, this was the 64-dimensional fish dragon dance. However, Han Fei performed the movement technique of the 108 Desolate God Body with 64 transformations. As a result, although the harpoon was fierce, it didn't touch Han Fei at all. On the contrary, the bow in Han Fei's hand was pulled wider and wider, and a massive amount of spiritual energy had exceeded the upper limit of Han Fei's own spiritual energy. Han Fei's entire right arm was oozing with blood. However, this arrow could be considered completed. Swish! The seventh arrow of the war soul art hurt both the body and the soul. The arrow was like a streak of light, and the half-mermaid had to defend itself. He tried to recall his clone, but the blue sea wandering dragon daggers were too close. Furthermore, every single saber seemed to contain the same terrifying and invincible battle intent from before. Although it wasn't strong, it wasn't something a clone with no combat power could withstand. Han Fei put down the wandering dragon bow, cast the divine healing technique on himself, and then looked at the petite half-mermaid. Okay, it's your turn. Come on. Everyone. Both the half-mermaids and the humans were speechless. Your arrow is very powerful, but you haven't killed your opponent yet, have you? Besides, could bow skills really kill a half-mermaid heavenly talent? But just as everyone was wondering, in only 2 seconds, the arrow had already caught up with the half-mermaid. The latter used battle suits, harpoons, and fishbone armor as shields. However, under the blow of 12,800 points of spiritual energy, everything was useless. Even Han Fei's upper limit of spiritual energy was less than 10,000 points. It would be hard for him to take this arrow himself, let alone the half-mermaid, who probably had less than 7,000 points of spiritual energy. Gotcha! Boom! A big hole was shot through the half-mermaid's lower abdomen, and blood kept flowing. Although this half-mermaid was strong enough, its fishbone armor couldn't penetrate the big hole even if it blocked the arrow. However, the inferior man-fish died with a loud bang. On the human side, a hidden fisher said, "This arrow blew up the opponent's soul. How many tricks does this kid have that we don't know?" The corner of Zheng Chaojia's mouth twitched. Who the F***CK investigated this? Why is this kid's abilities so different from those in the investigation? Xia Xiaochan frowned. Did he use too much strength? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. Luo Xiaobai shook her head. At least one of you has to go all out. Han Fei is durable, and you're explosive. So, it makes sense that Han Fei wants to fight for it once. No, I have to go back and cultivate hard. I have to go back and cultivate properly. Isn't this fellow's cultivation speed too fast? On the side, someone rolled his eyes. F***CK, this is not a problem of fast cultivation speed. This is clearly a problem of high cultivation intensity. He's a junior hanging fisher. He's fighting like a F***king peak-level hanging fisher. Yang Diu rubbed his head. Son of AB***TCH, I have to think about how to take this arrow. Gong Yuehan looked at the long sword in her hand and sighed. Alas, I don't think I can take it. On the field, Han Fei took back the blue sea wandering dragon daggers and had already set up a spirit-gathering array under his feet. The surrounding spiritual energy was gathering, but it couldn't keep up with his consumption. He was wondering how to explain the source of his spare spiritual energy. Immediately, Han Fei flicked his eyebrows, and Little Black and Little White appeared. Asking Little Black to stay still, Little White spat out a mouthful of pure spiritual energy, which was swallowed by Han Fei. The purity and richness of the spiritual qi caused the people around to be flabbergasted. Spirit-swallowing fish. A spirit-swallowing fish that can help store spiritual energy. Huh, that's acceptable. This spirit-swallowing fish doesn't seem to have any combat power. No wonder Han Fei hasn't used his spiritual beast until now. Someone guessed. I'm afraid this is the reason why he chose to temper his body, right? Because his spiritual beast is not a fighting type. He chose to temper his body. Someone couldn't help but exclaim, "That's F***king awesome." I feel that all the spiritual energy shot out by the arrow just now has been replenished in just one mouthful. In fact, Han Fei was just pretending. When swallowing spiritual energy, Han Fei pressed the blood-drinking knife with one hand, made a cut in his palm, and then stuffed some candle dragon blood into the cut. because the scene of the spirit swallowing fish, spitting out spiritual energy, was very eye-catching. No one noticed his movements. This made Han Fei replenish a mouthful of energy. Maybe if the amount was too much, he would definitely be discovered. Therefore, the energy was barely replenished by 10%. But 10% was enough. In this battle, Han Fei tried not to borrow external forces, so he could only find a way to cheat. The most petite inferior man-fish entered the field. When she moved, the pupils of everyone on the human side, including Han Fei, suddenly shrank. Now, she stood still like a half-mermaid. But at this moment, she moved and her body changed. Is this a half-mermaid? This is clearly a person. She actually has legs. Damn, it's an illusion. What we saw was an illusion of this woman. Is she a person? No, it's not an illusion. If it were an illusion, it would have been exposed. It must be an array. No, this is obviously some kind of powerful secret method. When the woman walked out, with a swish, a golden battle suit appeared on her body. She stretched out her slender hand, and a golden harpoon appeared in her hand. There were patterns flashing on the golden harpoon, which seemed to be a little more advanced than the previous golden harpoon. Han Fei, Zhang Xuanyu suddenly scolded, "Hey, do you have any shame? Divine battle suit? Divine weapon? Son of AB *TCH, this is cheating." Zhang Chaojie saw the clue and shouted, "Don't go too far. This is a true divine weapon. If you insist, I can lend you my divine weapon." The half-mermaid leader's aura suddenly rose. It's only right that a noble lady of the royal family has a divine weapon. This divine armor and weapon belonged to her in the first place. Zhang Chaojie asked, "So, are you really going to be shameless? If he has his own divine weapon, of course he can use it, but the point is that he doesn't." Han Fei was a bit confused. True divine weapon? Then what about the fake divine weapon? But it didn't seem to be a big difference, so it shouldn't be a big problem. But on the surface, Han Fei followed Zhang Chaojie's words and sneered. "So, it doesn't matter how I want to use my own things, right?" The half-mermaid leader looked at Han Fei. "How can you prove that it's yours?" Han Fei's face darkened. "Do you mean that as a noble lady of the royal family, you can use anything, but I can't use anything?" Behind Han Fei, Zhang Chaojie had already stepped into the air, the divine long sword in his hand, full of killing intent. "Do you really think we humans don't dare to start a full-scale war with the sea demons? We've fought before. Why? Do you want to do it again?" The half-mermaid leader held his head high and looked at Zhang Chaojie coldly. He could be allowed to recover on the spot. If he continues to push his luck, so what if we start a war? With that said, the half-mermaid glanced at Han Fei. Han Fei shivered all over. He felt a killing intent. Han Fei immediately broke out in a cold sweat. "This son of AB *TCH wants to kill me." Han Fei's brain was working quickly. The half-mermaid leader was probably provoking him. He wanted to take the opportunity to have a conflict with Zhang Chaojie and kill him in the chaos. Then he could make peace with him. By then, if he died, the Scattered Stars Island would have to bear the loss no matter how much they couldn't. He didn't believe that the Scattered Stars Island would really start a full-scale war with the sea demons just for him. Zhang Chaojie sneered and was about to refute when Han Fei suddenly said, "Okay, let me recover to my peak." "That's what you said." Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 670. Zhang Chaojie shouted, "That's a divine weapon." Han Fei grinned. "I know, but we still have to fight, right? I just want to know, how much of her strength can she exert with a divine weapon?" Zhang Chaojie frowned. "No more than 50%. Han Fei grinned. "Okay, let's have a try." When the half-mermaid girl was sparkling, Han Fei smiled and said, "That fish, wait for me to recover." The half-mermaid opened her red lips. "My name is not that fish. I have a name. My name is Yuji." Puff. Han Fei almost stumbled and said helplessly, "What a coincidence. My name is Overlord. In this battle, let me play farewell my concubine." "Everyone," Zhang Xuanyu muttered in the back. "Why do I feel that he is flirting with that woman?" Xia Xiaochan was speechless. "He is naughty. However, it seems that only this fish has a name." When Yuji entered the battlefield, A lot of red aura emerged from her body. When Han Fei was a human, it was demonic aura. It was because of this demonic aura that information appeared in Han Fei's eyes for the first time. Name, Yuji, half-mermaid. Introduction, she has a mixed mermaid bloodline and chooses the direction of human evolution. She is naturally charming and can control water as her weapon. She is a humanoid creature and cannot get more information. Level 48, Spiritual Energy 7 for 99/7 for 99, Demon Heritage Level 6, Mid-Quality Realm, Demon Transformation, Companion Spirit, Dark Moon Wolf, Fish, Unabsorbable, Mermaid Bloodline. Han Fei's pupils constricted. Why did he feel like he was in an ancient myth? Han Fei said, "Stand there and wait for me to recover." Yuji held the harpoon in front of him. "I'll wait for you." Han Fei, however, took out dozens of spiritual fruits and took a big bite of them. The red juice flowed down the corner of Han Fei's mouth. Yuji was stunned. You recovered just like that?" Slurp. Han Fei chewed. "My physique is good, very hard, and I can recover fast." Zheng Chaojia and the other hidden fishers all staggered. This Beastra's start is really good at talking. Baji, Han Fei stuffed spiritual fruits into his mouth one after another and said, "Isn't it good to be a fish? Do you think you're human just because you're in human form? Heh, why don't you renounce darkness and seek light? My human society accepts you. I'll introduce you to a handsome guy later. Look at the guy behind me. His name is Zhang Xuanyu. He's a hottie. How about it? Can I introduce him to you?" Yuji's body trembled a little. "Can you eat faster? If you're done, I'm going to start." Han Fei waved his hand and said, "Don't panic. What's the rush? Let's have a chat. You said you're a noble daughter of the royal family? I don't believe it. If there really was a royal sea demon here, why would they send you here? So, you're actually just a little maid, right?" A ripple appeared under Yuji's feet, and the waves rushed toward Han Fei. Han Fei hurriedly said, "Don't be rash. It hasn't started yet. Let me eat 2 more. Yuji's little face, which was much more delicate than that of ordinary half-mermaids, was full of anger. "You've eaten 23 energy fruits. Haven't you finished replenishing your energy yet?" Han Fei curled his lips. "You don't understand. Boys always eat more than girls, which shows that we boys have a good appetite. By the way, to tell you the truth, you haven't fully evolved yet. Although your face is quite delicate, it's not that good looking. You need more evolution." Swish! Yuji lunged forward with the golden harpoon in her hand. Her speed was so fast, and her strength was so fierce that Han Fei felt he needed to use the art of invincibility to block it. However, Han Fei's feet changed, and his body dodged the harpoon like a loach. The 64-dimensional fish dragon dance simulated Xia Xiaochan's weird hunter footwork. Swish! Swish! Golden light swept across, like wave patterns released in the air. Yuji sneered. "Do you think you can avoid it?" Bam! The seawater caved in, and the space within a radius of more than 300 meters collapsed. Immediately afterward, Han Fei and Yuji both fell into the sea. Heavy water domain. Han Fei suddenly frowned, and his body's reaction speed slowed down. 10 times the gravity? More than 10 times. In the direction of the humans, a hidden fisher's face changed. Heavy water domain. This half-mermaid has comprehended the heavy water domain? Damn it. Don't tell me these sea monsters have really dragged the sky prides of their king city over here. They can even comprehend the power of the domain. Underwater, Han Fei's face darkened. He no longer had the exaggerated dodging posture from before. His 64-dimensional fish dragon dance had returned to the posture of his 108 desolate god body. The golden harpoon was always a few centimeters away from Han Fei, brushing past him. It looked breathtaking, as if Han Fei would be hacked to death at any time. Bam! At the moment when the two passed each other, Han Fei's shoulder muscles trembled, and he bumped into Yuji, knocking her back dozens of meters in her own heavy water domain. In 100 minutes, the two fought no less than 1,000 times. Yuji couldn't touch Han Fei even once. Everyone watching the battle couldn't help but show a surprised look. Someone said, It's clearly in someone else's domain, but why does it feel like it has become Han Fei's own domain? Someone said, this heavy water domain isn't comprehended well enough. If the gravity increases dozens of times, Han Fei may be in danger. Someone sighed. Now it seems that it's not so scary. A hidden fissure was speechless. Not scary? That's because Han Fei doesn't have a divine weapon. If you go up, you may be cut into several pieces in less than 2 minutes. The blood-drinking knife in Han Fei's hand and the golden harpoon always collided in subtle places. Han Fei used a lot of force, and the blood-drinking knife was fine. However, at this moment, there were already several more cracks on it. Swish, swish, swish. When Han Fei and Yu Ji collided again, the 99 blue sea wandering dragon daggers suddenly exploded. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Sea God Golden Harpoon. Majestic mystic spell. Clank, clank, clank. The harpoon in Yu Ji's hand suddenly turned into 100 harpoon shadows, hitting the dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers. Kacha, kacha, kacha. For a time, dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers suddenly broke, which Han Fei didn't expect at all. Puff! Han Fei coughed up 3 mouthfuls of blood in a row. He had no choice but to suffer a backlash. These blue sea wandering dragon daggers were all his spiritual weapons, nourished by his own essence blood. Once they were broken, his body would suffer a backlash. Xiao Xiaochan's heart trembled. Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, Fei Fei, be careful. Luren Kuang warned, don't fight recklessly. Mu Jiao exclaimed, ah. In an instant, nearly 30 ultra-quality spiritual weapons were destroyed. Is this the power of a divine weapon? Guan Qingyan exclaimed, wow, Han Fei is in danger. Although this battle seemed to be the easiest, he was dodging all the time. But on the field, I'm afraid he can't be distracted at any moment. If he makes a mistake, he may die. Han Fei suddenly realized that this Yu Ji was waiting for him to use the 10,000 knives in one. She was waiting for the moment when he would suffer a backlash. At this moment, Han Fei's body was indeed tumbling. He hadn't mastered the 64-dimensional fish dragon dance yet. This mistake directly gave Yu Ji an opportunity. Swish! The golden harpoon broke through the air and darted directly at Han Fei. It was so fast that it was somewhat similar to Sun Mu's 10,000 swords in one. Han Fei immediately gritted his teeth. Damn it, the divine weapon was indeed extremely terrifying. Clang! With a crisp noise, a rusty iron rod appeared in Han Fei's hand. It was this iron rod that had blocked the violent, hair-raising attack. Puff! Han Fei stepped back half a meter, tilted his head, and spat a mouthful of blood casually to the side, as if he were spitting out a mouthful of water. Han Fei was a little horrified. At this moment, even though he had activated the majestic mystic spell, Han Fei felt that his internal organs were shaking. The embroidery needle blocked the golden harpoon. Han Fei's eyes turned cold, and he suddenly punched out, wrapped in dazzling golden light, directly at Yu Ji. Boom, boom, boom. The golden fist shadow fell crazily, and before Yu Ji could react, she was directly blown away. However, when Han Fei saw the invincible fist mark fall on the opponent's divine battle suit, he was speechless. He felt that most of the power was melting. Yu Ji's mouth was bleeding and her eyes were cold. What weapon is that in your hand? Han Fei ignored Yu Ji, because he found that the rust on the embroidery needle was shattered by Yu Ji's blow. Crack! Crack, crack! On the rusted parts, Han Fei saw a faint golden color. Han Fei thought to himself, is the embroidery needle going to recover? Immediately, Han Fei fused a drop of essence blood into the embroidery needle. This time, the essence blood was really absorbed. However, Han Fei didn't feel that he had established a relationship with the embroidery needle. Huh, isn't this how the sea-quelling bazaar treasure recognizes its master? Han Fei put a few more drops of essence blood into the embroidery needle. The essence blood was still absorbed, but there was still no reaction. Han Fei was speechless. Come on, do you really want me to use the sacrificing punch? If I can't kill this woman, I'll be killed myself. Yu stabbed at him with the harpoon again. Han Fei gritted his teeth. Son of a b asterisk tch, why don't you just keep refusing to recognize me as your master? Han Fei held the embroidery needle, not caring whether it recognized him as its master or not. The long rod was like a knife, and the invincible fighting intent was fully integrated into it. In terms of rod skills, Han Fei was much worse than Zhang Xuanyu, but he could use the rod as a knife. Clang! The waves slapped, and a big pit appeared. Han Fei grunted, and the skin on his right hand was torn and dripping with blood. Yu was not much better. She coughed up blood, and the blood scattered on the turbulent sea. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. Her hands were also dripping with blood, and there was blood bursting out her ears and eyes. Yuji's eyes were burning. A divine weapon? Han Fei twisted his neck and cast the divine healing technique on himself. I'm not a divine weapon. This is just a broken divine weapon, but it's still a divine weapon. Come on, take another blow from me. On the sea, the two of them were like two human-shaped missiles. One impact, two impacts, three impacts. Han Fei laughed loudly, his teeth red, but he didn't care. The royal daughter of the sea demons is just SOSO. If it weren't for the help of a divine weapon, I would have killed you more than once. If you have the ability, take another punch from me. Han Fei found that he couldn't use the embroidery needle anymore. After all, it was not a knife, and he couldn't use the strength of the embroidery needle. Forget it, attach. Terrifying power gathered on Han Fei's fist mark. A scarlet light formed a fist mark 5 or 6 meters in size, full of murderous intent. Humph, you're courting death. When Han Fei activated the majestic mystic spell and activated the sacrificing punch mark, the half-mermaid leader on the opposite side suddenly snorted. Han Fei felt as if his chest had been hit hard, and he vomited a mouthful of blood. Burning God Strike. Zheng Chaojie took action, and the divine weapon in his hand turned into a boundless shadow, slashing directly at the half-mermaid leader. A group of hidden fishers stepped into the air, and someone cursed, "Damn half-mermaid, you're bullying the weak. You're courting death." Han Fei retreated. In front of him, an amulet suddenly broke just because of the opponent's snort. Han Fei pointed at the half-mermaid and cursed, "Son of a b asterisk tch, don't die. Otherwise, I'll hack you to death myself." Second, please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 671. Han Fei was thinking about a question. What would happen if a person was too excellent? This time he should have one. From a moment he punched out the sacrificing punch. He had one. Although that blow was blocked by the half-mermaid leader and failed to kill Yu, Han Fei knew that she couldn't block it. However, this was all in the past. Han Fei was very distressed now. This time, the strength he showed shocked too many people. This time, the strength that he had displayed had caused too many people to raise their eyebrows. This was not a good thing. Old Bai said that he should keep a low profile, but it seemed that he had never achieved it. Immediately, Han Fei didn't heal his wounds. He was seriously injured now. After going back, he had to find a way to get out of the sight of others. Xia Xiaochan and Zhang Xuanyu were supporting Han Fei, and a spirit gatherer took the initiative to come up and heal Han Fei. One healing technique after another fell on Han Fei, directly turning him into a glowing body. Han Fei was helpless. Everyone, don't waste your spiritual energy. What if something unexpected happens later? A spirit gatherer said, "It's okay. There are so many of us here. How can we let you get hurt?" Han Fei, several hidden fishers shouted, "Everyone, take off the fishing boats and return." Han Fei glimpsed from the corner of his eyes, and a boundless rain of fire sprinkled towards the half-mermaids. Zheng Chaojie took action without hesitation. At this moment, he was chasing 3 powerful half-mermaids and slashing them wildly. Han Fei and the others flew back for less than 500 kilometers, and Zheng Chaojie's figure suddenly appeared on the fishing boat where Han Fei was. There was blood dripping from one of his arms, but his eyes were still very calm. He looked at Han Fei, which made Han Fei's hair stand on end. Han Fei was speechless. "Master Adjudicator, can you not look at me like this?" Zheng Chaojie withdrew his gaze, took out an ancient jade and threw it to Han Fei. Although it's not as good as your protective jade, it's not weak. Han Fei was taken aback, quickly put away the protective jade that Zheng Chaojie threw, and said with a smile, "Master Adjudicator, I feel quite seriously injured. Can I take a few days off when I go back?" Zheng Chaojie looked at Han Fei for a while. What are the sequelae? Of course, Han Fei knew what he was asking. It should be the sequelae of the majestic mystic spell and the sacrificing strike. I'm afraid I won't be able to recover my peak combat power in a few months. Zheng Chaojie frowned. So serious? Your meridians are only slightly damaged, and your internal organs should be fine. What's the problem? Han Fei's eyes flickered. Power. I can't exert that much power in a short time. I've used up too much energy and overdraft my body. Han Fei believed that Zheng Chaojie couldn't see through the mysteries of the human body. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a thing as demonization in the first place. If they could all grasp the mysteries of the human body, wouldn't it be easy for them to transform into demons? Zheng Chaojie. Yeah. This time, when he returned, he would rest for the time being. I'll give you a month off. Han Fei asked in a hurry. My lord, my weapons have been damaged. Do you think? Zheng Chaojie paused for a moment. Resources are precious. I'll give you 500,000 points. You're an armament refiner yourself, so you'll have to trouble yourself to refine it again. Only 500,000 points of credit? But on the surface, he could only smile and agree. 7 days later, in the refining room of the refining hall, beside Han Fei, there were 200 ultra-quality spiritual weapons floating. Among them, there were always a few spirit weapons that fell to the ground. It still doesn't work. My spiritual power is improving too slowly. Should I find a time and a place where no one is around to deduce the 5th level of the void fishing art? But after thinking about it, Han Fei gave up this idea. There was no chance in the Scattered Stars Island. The movement when deducing the 5th level of the void fishing art was too big. On the Scattered Stars Island, it was impossible to hide it from others. On the sea, it was impossible to do it on the sea. The sea thousands of kilometers away from the Scattered Stars Island was already dangerous enough. Although he didn't look weak now, if he really went to the sea, who knew who would be attracted when he made a breakthrough? Which sea monsters? Another 7 days passed. In front of Han Fei, there was an iron tower-like brawny man more than 2 meters tall. He looked a bit like Xiao Zhan, but his face was more handsome than Xiao Zhan's. This iron tower-like brawny man was wearing bright red armor. Yes, it was armor. Not a battle suit, not a battle armor, but a fully armed armor. From head to feet, this man was covered with a set of bright red armor, exuding a cold aura. On his fists, there were 2 extremely exquisite boxing gloves. Outside the boxing gloves, there were also circles of thin chains inlaid. With a thought from Han Fei, the armor broke off, revealing a white giant like a dead thing. But this person was carved vividly by Han Fei. Except for his pale skin, he was almost no different from ordinary people. After hearing Mu Jia-er's idea, Han Fei tried to refine this humanoid spiritual weapon after he came back. This thing almost emptied half of Han Fei's wealth. So a fish bone more than 20 meters tall, plus some ordinary ultra-quality materials, formed the body of this iron tower-like brawny man. A section of the 10,000-year-old big red trunk, 2 chains obtained from the undersea city, and some auxiliary ultra-quality materials were turned into this set of armor and boxing gloves. So far, the treasures contained in Han Fei's Forge the Universe, except for the 10,000-year-old big red trunk, only a book, a red flame origin crystal, and a 10,000-year-old cold crystal were left. Apart from that, there was nothing valuable. Of course, in order to complete his ultra-quality spiritual weapon and refine this humanoid spiritual weapon, in addition to the consumption of materials, Han Fei had consumed 20 million points of spiritual energy. Besides, whether it was these refined spiritual weapons or this iron tower-like brawny man, he hadn't sealed a spirit yet. Han Fei didn't intend to seal a spirit on the humanoid spiritual weapon for the time being. In the past few days, he had been studying the technology of array superposition with Guan Xingyin. He was going to try to carve interlocking formations on the armor and the humanoid puppet's body. Finally, he would completely refine the armor and the humanoid puppet together to see if he could refine this humanoid ultra-quality spiritual weapon into a divine weapon. This idea, just thinking about it, made Han Fei's heart skip a beat. If he could, wouldn't it be equivalent to having an extra clone in the future? Suddenly, Guan Qingyin's voice came from the waist tag on Han Fei's waist. Guan Qingyin asked, "Brother Han, are you there? I'm in the refining room." "What's up?" Guan Qingyin said, "Brother Han, I learned from Uncle Beihua that there is an array master on the Scattered Stars Island. I'm going to visit him, so I came to ask you to come with me." Han Fei asked in surprise, "An array master?" Guan Qingyin said, "It is said that his attainments in arrays are unparalleled in the world." Puff! Han Fei was lost for words. "Have you been fooled by Uncle Beihua? Isn't your Guan family a family of refiners? Even you aren't unparalleled in the world. Where did this unparalleled master come from?" Guan Qingyin said, "Senior brother Beihua wouldn't lie to me." Han Fei nodded. "Then wait a moment. I'll come out now." As soon as Han Fei walked out of the refining hall, a staff member of the refining hall greeted him. "Hello, Master Han." Han Fei said, "Hello, hello." Now, although Han Fei's waist tag was still 4-star, Han Fei had been in the refining hall every day for the past half-month, so naturally, more people knew him. However, Han Fei still felt that he was very poor. The 500,000 points of credit and the dead on the skeleton shore were basically used to buy materials. The path of cultivation consumed too many materials. Now, Han Fei had less than 100,000 points of credit. Outside the refining hall, Guan Qingyin and Mu Jia were standing here. After seeing Han Fei, Mu Jia couldn't help but ask, "Liar, have you recovered?" Han Fei was stunned. "You're going too?" Mu Jia pouted. "What's wrong with me going? He's an array master. Of course I'm going." Han Fei curled his lips and looked at Guan Qingyin. "Is there really an array master?" Guan Qingyin nodded. "It should be." Han Fei asked again, "Have you become a spirit gatherer?" Guan Qingyin said, "I've mastered the pupil technique, but not the spirit gathering art yet." "Brother Han, how's your study of arrays?" Han Fei said helplessly, "I can still stack spirit gathering arrays, but it's impossible to draw a complete set of interlocking arrays." Guan Qingyin nodded. Of course, the path of array formations was even more difficult than cultivation. "Brother Han, your attainments in arrays are actually not bad. In another 10 years, I'm afraid that you will shine in the field of arrays." Han Fei smiled. "Oh, old Guan, you're really good at flattery." Guan Qingyin asked, "Flattery?" Han Fei shrugged. "Nothing. What's the background of that array master? Where is he? Is he really as good as you say?" Guan Qingyin said, "Uncle Beihua said he was good. He lives in a remote place in the Twisted Jungle. It's said that he hides his residence with arrays." Han Fei wondered, "Isn't the Twisted Jungle dangerous?" Guan Qingyin nodded. "Actually, it's not that dangerous. It shouldn't be that dangerous as long as you don't go deep." The three of them got on the fishing boat and flew straight to the Twisted Jungle. On the fishing boat, Mu Jia was suddenly asked, "Liar, have people from the Scattered Stars First Unit been looking for you recently?" Han Fei was puzzled. "Who? Scattered Stars First Unit? What do you want?" Mu Jia said, "I heard from Uncle Beihua that you might be transferred to the Scattered Stars First Unit." Han Fei's face immediately turned green. "Scattered Stars First Unit? I don't have time. I'm seriously injured right now, so I'm studying the Tao of artifact refinement. Yes, I won't fight recently. I won't fight." Mu Jia nodded in agreement. Yes, refining is much more interesting than fighting. This was the first time that Han Fei had come to the Twisted Jungle. As soon as he arrived above the jungle, he saw dozens of birds of different species flying around. Guan Qingyin said, "Let's go to the ground first. These big birds are territorial. If you fly in the sky, you will be attacked." Third update. Please vote. You can't become a fatty in one bite. Take it easy. How about I add more updates during the new year? Otherwise, do you want me to become a tentacle monster with 2 hands and 2 keyboards? TSK, TSK. End of this chapter. Chapter 672. It was said that there were large swamps in the twisted jungle. Some places were extremely clear, some places were overgrown with weeds, and there were many tree holes or bird nests on the trees, where as many as dozens of species of birds lived. As for more birds, most of them lived on the high mountains in the Transverse Mountains. Han Fei hadn't entered the Transverse Mountains yet. However, he was quite curious about the twisted jungle. In Han Fei's imagination, it was just a forest. No matter how big the trees were, they were nothing more than plants, insects, and birds. What else could there be? In fact, it was just as Han Fei had guessed. However, he seemed to have guessed wrong about one thing. The trees here were very large and twisted, looking very weird. The insects here were also terrifyingly large. As soon as Han Fei landed, he saw a centipede more than 5 meters long lying on the tree. The shiny red-black carapace and the sharp claws made Han Fei's blood freeze. As soon as the centipede stood up, Han Fei threw out a knife and nailed it to the tree. Han Fei frowned. Is there something wrong with the master's head? Why did he choose these strange places to live in? Swish! Swish! Mu Jiao was fully armed. A set of supreme-grade spiritual armor covered her entire body. Han Fei was speechless. Seriously? These creatures don't seem to be of high levels. They're not even level 30. Why are you dressed like this? A buzzing voice came from the armor. It's none of your business. I hate bugs. Han Fei scanned with his perception. There were all kinds of creatures scattered on the ground, on the trees, and in the vegetation. There were spiders the size of millstones, snakes disguised as tree branches, caterpillars with spots all over their bodies, multi-legged insects under leaves, praying mantises disguised as grass, and huge, colorful earthworms with huge bodies. Han Fei frowned and said, Old Guan, are you sure you didn't lead the wrong way? This is the place. It's all insects, big insects. Are you sure the master lives here? Guan Xingyan released the pressure of a hanging fisher, and many insects around seemed to feel the danger and rushed to other places. Guan Xingyan said, It should be more than 30 kilometers ahead. The twisted jungle is the same as the Transverse Mountains. The deeper you go, the more dangerous it will be. The other side of it led straight to the ocean, but no man-fish would march into the Scattered Stars Island from the twisted jungle. From this, it can be seen that the depths are still dangerous. Han Fei sneered. I won't leave this damn place even if you give it to me. After walking for 4 or 5 kilometers, they discovered that low-level creatures actually wouldn't give way to powerful beings. For example, some small poisonous creatures would always try to approach the 3 of them. Of course, the result was naturally being cut into pieces. After walking for 10 miles, the forest was filled with white mist. It was inevitable that he would overlook something just by relying on his vision. Therefore, the 3 of them could only rely on perception to move forward. Suddenly, Han Fei waved his knife, and a tree lying on the ground, which he thought was a fallen tree, was cut into dozens of pieces. It wasn't until black liquid spurted out and Mu Jia screamed that she realized it was a bug. Data appeared in Han Fei's eyes. Name: Black Snake Millipede. Introduction: a large arthropod that lives in warm woodlands. Its body emits stimulating hallucinogenic poisons all year round to confuse living creatures and obtain food. The carapace was hard, and there was a hallucinatory poison within. Level: 34, quality, regular, contains spiritual energy greater than 772 points, edible effect, inedible, collectible, hallucinatory venom, absorbable. Seeing the large amount of venom, Han Fei immediately took out a jar and drank a large bottle. Guan Xingyan was stunned. Brother Han, why did you take its venom? Oh, I'll try when we go back and see if it's drinkable. Ew, Mu Jia. Bend over, feeling her stomach churning. Why are you so disgusting? You're actually thinking about whether you can drink this thing? Han Fei said with a smile. It's not a big problem. After all, it's also a kind of creature. It will always have natural enemies. I just made it have one more natural enemy. Han Fei's actual thought was that this forest was full of poisonous creatures. Should he come here more often in the future? After all, There was a heaven spirit detoxifying insect in his stomach. That thing fed on poisonous creatures. If he came here to eat, wouldn't he have to go to the logistics division to exchange for poisonous creatures? Of course, this was just Han Fei's idea. As for whether he would drink it or not, he would decide when he went back. What if he couldn't bring himself to eat it? Chirp, chirp. While they were walking, they saw a big blackbird fly past more than 30 meters above their heads. On its sharp claws, it hooked a big snake like a dead branch and flew directly to the top. Mu Jiao hummed. I don't like this place. Han Fei smiled and said, to be honest, I don't like it either. But now it's not a matter of whether I like it or not. We seem to be trapped in an array. Guan Qingyan and Mu Jia paused and looked at Han Fei. Han Fei pointed to a stone in front of them on the left and said, look, this stone is smooth and has salt on it, but it inexplicably appeared here. And there's no second one around. After saying that, Han Fei pointed to a branch above his head and said, look, on this branch, there's a cut made by a knife. Who would be bored enough to cut a tree? Then, Han Fei pointed to the surrounding trees and said, the position of these trees is a triangle. We just walked it twice, and now it's the third time. Guan Qingyan asked, Brother Han, have you already found it? Han Fei cut off the branch with a knife, kicked the stone away, and then said, we have entered a chain array. Let's try taking 2 more steps. Along the way, Han Fei cut here and kicked there. He even saw the corpse of a big purple earthworm lying on the side of the road, which was burned by him with spiritual energy. Half an hour later, Han Fei suddenly stopped. No, those auxiliary small array bases are useless at all. We are now locked in a large array. Now, we have just broken through the large array. But where is the eye of the large array? I haven't found it yet. Han Fei's perception suddenly soared out. In the end, he discovered that his perception was blocked 1,200 meters away. Guan Qingyan glanced at Han Fei lightly. Brother Han, you have a better grasp of the details of arrays than I do. Han Fei sneered. Don't brag. You have already carved the combination array, but I haven't. Guan Qingyan said seriously, I only know those few arrays. Mu Jia, tug at Han Fei and Guan Qingyan's clothes. Then why don't we walk around again? Han Fei glanced at her. Can you take back your armor? Mu Jia shrugged. They're all insects. Han Fei ignored her and scanned inch by inch with his perception, once, twice. It was not until Han Fei scanned for the 6th time that he found the way to break the array was in the trees. Han Fei suddenly threw out 6 blue sea wandering dragon daggers, directly piercing 6 tree holes in the trees. At the moment when the tree holes were pierced, the three's vision suddenly became clear and the fog in the forest dissipated. And Han Fei's perception stopped more than 2,000 meters away. That place seemed to be covered by something. Another array formation? Guan Qingyan was surprised. The eye of the array is actually a tree hole. Han Fei explained, these tree holes were dug later. Although they are smeared with tree sap, they're a little different from other tree holes. When the 3 of them walked to the front of the large array, Han Fei's eyes suddenly narrowed. He saw wheat beside a big tree. F***, this is the twisted jungle. It's all poisonous. Where did the wheat come from? Immediately, Han Fei's expression changed. It was really a case of planting flowers intentionally, but accidentally planting a willow tree inadvertently grew. He had inquired on the Scattered Stars Island if there were any plantations here. The answers were all the same, no. However, when he saw this wheat, how could he not understand? This was definitely old Jiang. Didn't this old man like lying in the sun? Why did he come to this twisted jungle full of poisonous creatures? Guan Qingyan said respectfully to the large array, Senior, the 3 of us were introduced by Senior Bei Hua of the Scattered Stars 4th Unit. We heard that Senior is very good at arrays, so we came to ask you for advice. Mu Jia nodded. Yes, we came to ask Senior for advice. Senior, please open the door. Han Fei tapped on the light curtain with his finger, then patted it, and then patted even louder. Old man, open the door, old man. Guan Qingyan. Mu Jia Mu Jia pushed Han Fei. Show some respect. He is a master of arrays. Guan Qingyan also said, Brother Han, you'd better not be rude. Han Fei frowned. There's no one inside. I just wanted to try patting it. Guan Qingyan was taken aback. How do you know that there's no one inside, Brother Han? Han Fei smiled and said, Look, he's a master of arrays. How can a master of arrays let us find his nest so easily? How can he just set up a few small arrays outside? If he is here, how can we come here? Look at the yellow grass, wheat, next to it. It can grow here, which means that we are already at his door. Mu Jia wondered, Isn't it good to be at your door? Use your brain. If I were a master of arrays, would I let you find my door? What if someone breaks in by force? If he wants to see you, he must be outside the small arrays. If I open the way for you, would I let you find my door? Guan Qingyan couldn't help but say seriously, Brother Han is right. If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have figured out the meaning of this. Mu Jia was frustrated. Then what should we do? Go back. Guan Qingyan said, Uncle Beihua said that this senior is unsociable and we may not be able to see him. It seems that this senior is probably not here at the moment. Let's come back next time. You guys go back first. I'm going to get some poison. Guan Qingyan. Han Fei smiled. I'm close to Chao Chiu. There are poisonous things everywhere here. Of course, I have to collect some. How about you help me get some? And then we can go back together. Mu Jia shook her head like a rattle. No, I'm going back now. After a while, Han Fei confirmed that the two had returned. Then he returned to the front of the array, immediately set up a big pot, and the hot pot was set up. In just a moment, the aroma was overflowing and Han Fei began to eat. At this moment, a gap appeared in the array. Little bastard, get in here. First update, asking for votes, into this chapter. Chapter 673. Han Fei looked down and found that the pot was gone. He shook his head with a smile and stepped into the array. Han Fei wasn't in a hurry to find old Jiang. God knew that the place Guan Qingyan took him to was old Jiang's hiding place. Han Fei stepped into the array and appeared in a plantation. The area he was in was filled with golden wheat, and there wasn't a single tall tree in sight. Sunlight poured down, shining on the golden wheat field, making it even more resplendent. There was a small path in the paddy field. The deeper he went, the more crops he saw, which made him feel like he was back home. In the middle of a strawberry garden, 2 wooden houses stood there quietly. There were also some dustpans for drying fruits. The familiar vat was placed in front of the cabin, and the vinegar vat was placed in the open space. On a rocking recliner, old Jiang was looking at Han Fei with disgust. Next to him was the hot pot that Han Fei had just cooked. When old Jiang saw Han Fei, he scolded, I told you not to look for me. I told you not to look for me. I've only been here for a few years, and you're already looking for me. Han Fei said angrily, Me? You think I want to find you? If it wasn't for those 2 fellows pulling me over and saying that they wanted to pay a visit to a formation master, I wouldn't even know that you were here. Speaking of which, old man, you're really something. A grandmaster of array formations. Awesome. He left me a copy of the Spirit Gathering Scripture and ran away. My brain is already swollen from reading so much, and I still haven't learned a lot of formations. Han Fei complained and almost roared at old Jiang's face. After saying a lot, Han Fei moved a chair over, sat down in front of the hot pot, and began to eat with his chopsticks. Where is Sister Qin? Old Jiang snorted. He's not back yet. Did Sister Qin go to work again? Speaking of which, where was the burial ground? Why have I never heard of such a place on the Scattered Stars Island? Old Jiang threw a pair of chopsticks at Han Fei's head. You have too many questions. Han Fei was lost for words. Don't you need chopsticks to eat? You're already an adult, yet you're throwing things around. Old Jiang snorted. You don't have to ask about the boneyard. It's useless even if you do. Fine, I won't ask. The sea quelling painting. I have the sea token. Do you think I won't know when the sea quelling painting appears? Pooh. Old Jiang spat out the food. Where did you get the sea token? Han Fei said gloomily. Look, what's with such a big reaction? It was the sea token. I got it from the blazing mountain. Old Jiang's eyes suddenly moved. No, it's useless even if you have a sea token. He hadn't even found the sea-quelling painting yet. He didn't even know if the sea token would work. Shoo shoo shoo. I'm sick of eating hot pot. Did you come up with any new dishes? Since you're here, let's have a feast. Han Fei chuckled. Hey, I'm here to cook for you, aren't I? Old Jiang said, You cook, and I'll explain the spirit-gathering scripture to you. Are those two guys from the Guan family and Mu family from the Thousand Star City? Han Fei was stunned. You can see that too? Old Jiang sneered and said, It's easy to guess. At such a young age, there should be no other three-star refiners except for those two families. But, you brat, who did you learn to forge weapons from? Han Fei grinned. I'm a genius. Geniuses learn everything quickly. Do I need to learn from anyone? Old Jiang said disdainfully, Since you are a genius, why are you here to ask about a raise? You have the spirit-gathering scripture. You're self-taught. Han Fei was speechless. No, Grandpa, I'm not bragging, but if I had enough time, I would have learned the spirit-gathering scripture from beginning to end in a year. Believe it or not. Bullsh*T, it's been 3 years. Tell me, how many arrays have you learned? Han Fei's tone immediately softened. Of course, he couldn't tell old Jiang that he had only learned 6 arrays. Otherwise, he would definitely be laughed at. Han Fei thought for a moment. It's none of your business. Besides, I don't have time. How busy am I? I have to cultivate and refine. How can I have time to study arrays? Old Jiang sneered. You? Don't tell me you only know a spirit-gathering array. Then I'll laugh at you. Didn't you come to ask me about arrays? If you don't show me, how can I teach you? Come on, show me. Han Fei gritted his teeth. This old man is making fun of me. However, on second thought, Han Fei knew he had to ask anyway. He had to show it before Jiang Qin came back. So, Han Fei stepped on a 6 spirit armor formation. Old Jiang sneered. It's just a 6 spirit armor array. How dare you show it to me? Han Fei stepped on it again, and a breath-concealing array appeared, hiding Han Fei's aura. Old Jiang rolled his eyes. I've sat up straight, and this is all you're going to show me? Han Fei gritted his teeth, stepped on it again, and a soundproof array appeared. Despised. Han Fei stepped on it again, and the last 7 spirit-killing array appeared, only to be despised by Old Jiang again. For the first time, Old Jiang felt that he could laugh at Han Fei. He immediately pointed at him and said, So, I've taught you the spirit-gathering scripture for so long, but you've only learned these few arrays? Han Fei bared his teeth. I'm busy. Can't you see it? When you left, I was only a great fishing master. At that time, I was only a great fishing master. Look at me now. I'm a junior hanging fisher, 4-star, and a 3-star refiner. I'm busy. Can't you see it? Old Jiang spat. What are you busy with? Go pick vegetables. Tell me, how many arrays can you draw now? Han Fei roared. There must be more than 50 of them. Although I can't do it with just 1 step, I can still draw it in a short time. Old Jiang said helplessly. So, my spirit-gathering scripture involves nearly 1,000 arrays, but you can only draw more than 50. Han Fei was a little embarrassed. In fact, if you give me a little more time, this number can be increased. Old Jiang said angrily. Is this why you learned 5 or 6 arrays in these years? Han Fei felt that he was a little wrong. Immediately, he ran into the plantation. You're so old. Why are you so angry? Let me tell you, it's mainly because I don't have time. What do you think of me breaking your formation? I can break your formation in a matter of minutes. Old Jiang was so angry that he laughed. That's the door I kept open for you. You can't even break that. Why do you still want to learn arrays? After you go out, don't tell people that you have learned the spirit-gathering scripture. I can't afford to lose my face. Han Fei blushed. I'm scolded as soon as I come here. Why is my treatment so bad? Immediately, Han Fei had an idea. I've recently developed several new dishes and a new seasoning. That's really memorable. I'm going to dig some seasoning. Old Jiang frowned. New seasoning? Like vinegar? Han Fei shrugged. It's completely different. However, that's just an idea. I think it should be no worse than vinegar. When Jiang Qin came back, as soon as she entered the array, she felt that something seemed to be different at home. The whole plantation was filled with a refreshing fragrance. That kind of smell was something she had never smelled before. When she took a few steps to the front of the house, she saw two people, one old and one young, working on a blue-tide turtle. The huge turtle shell was casually overturned in the corner, and a big pot was full of sweet smell. Old Jiang asked, "Sugar? This thing is quite amazing. I never thought of taking out the sweet juice in the spiritual fruit and drying it. This thing is extraordinary." Han Fei said proudly, "It's more than extraordinary. Sour, sweet, bitter, spicy, and salty are all the best of the best." When he had free time in the future, he could easily make a few more seasonings. Therefore, how should the formation be fused? Create, modify the original array, or let the spiritual energy freely play? Old Jiang chuckled. "It smells good, but why is the turtle chopped into so many pieces? You haven't even learned arrays yet, and you want to fuse them? You're thinking too much." Han Fei said, "Because the taste needs to infect the meat. Who says that you can't design arrays without learning arrays? I think these two things can go hand in hand. Learning arrays and learning to draw arrays can be done at the same time." Just when the two were discussing happily, Jiang Qin said lightly, "Han Fei, why are you here so soon?" Old Jiang responded lightly, "Oh, he found me." Han Fei quickly turned around and grinned. "Oh, Sister Qin, I haven't seen you for years. You are so beautiful. You are getting more and more girly." Bam! Han Fei's forehead was slapped, and Jiang Qin rolled her eyes at him. "You have a glib tongue. If you didn't come, I would have gone to find you in a few days. This time, in the battle between the human race and the sea demons, you were too impulsive and performed too well. This is not a good thing." Han Fei asked in surprise, "Sister Qin, how did you know about this?" Jiang Qin looked at the dishes on the table, and her face softened. "I knew it when you came to the Scattered Stars Island. I arranged for you to be assigned to the Skeleton Shore." Puff! Han Fei was speechless. "What? You knew a long time ago? Why didn't I know?" Old Jiang snorted. "Why do you want to know? You are so weak. It's a good thing to arrange for you to exercise, but you don't work hard at work. All you know is refining weapons to make money to buy spiritual fruits. You are so useless." Han Fei was speechless. However, after being stunned for a while, Han Fei suddenly exclaimed, "Wait, how did you know I was going to buy spiritual fruits?" Smack! Han Fei suddenly slapped his thigh. "So you bought the 1,000 poison fruit? Did you do it on purpose?" Second update. Please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 674. Han Fei was instantly enraged. "So, I worked hard to earn 8 million points of credit and wanted to buy 1,000 poison fruit, but you bought it in advance." Old Jiang looked at Han Fei contemptuously. "1,000 poison fruit? Did you read the Encyclopedia of Spiritual Plants into the fish's stomach?" Although the 1,000 poison fruit was not bad, its grade was only slightly higher than the 1,000 poison fruit. Yes, after taking the 1,000 poison fruit, there might not be any poison within hundreds of thousands of kilometers or even millions of kilometers around the Scattered Stars Island. But what about beyond this range? I can't even get out of the Scattered Stars Island yet. I can only guard the coastline. You're telling me it's 1,000,000 miles away? If I had the ability to go 1,000,000 miles away, I would definitely find other anti-poison fruits. Old Jiang sneered. "Ignorant. You might be able to block the poisons born from heaven and earth. However, do you think the 1,000 poison fruit can block all the poisons refined by poison cultivators?" Han Fei blushed with anger. "When I was in the level 3 fishery, one venomous tulip could ignore all poisons." Old Jiang said angrily, "What do you know? What poison could there be in the level 3 fishery? How many poison cultivators could there be? You really encountered a powerful poison cultivator." Hee, venomous tulip? With the venomous tulip, the 1,000 poisons fruit, and the 10,000 poisons fruit, you might not be able to withstand it. Han Fei and Old Jiang stared at each other. Han Fei felt that the 1,000,000 poison fruit was already a rare spiritual fruit. Eating it was better than not eating it at all. Jiang Qin shouted, "Sit down and eat." Oh. The old man and the young man glared at each other at the dinner table. On the table were steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers, golden thread fish lips, phoenix-tailed shark fins, and braised jade-tide turtle. Old Jiang drank up a bowl of wine and stuffed a large piece of turtle meat into his mouth. Instantly, the old man's eyes lit up. Jiang Qin also took a piece, put it in her mouth, and narrowed her eyes. Old Jiang clicked his tongue and said, "Although you're a bit stupid sometimes, you're still a good kid. But this dish is pretty good." TSK. Han Fei had no appetite. He had eaten all kinds of good food and traveled all over the world. Not to mention anything else, even if they were on the sea, would it be okay not to hoard some good stuff? Life on the sea was so boring. Therefore, Han Fei didn't really care about food. At this moment, Han Fei was very curious. Seeing that old Jiang stopped arguing with him, he immediately asked, "So, the heaven spirit detoxifying insect is the second choice you gave me?" Old Jiang snorted. "It's good that you know. Others might not know how powerful the heaven spirit detoxifying insect is, but you should know." Han Fei was lost for words. "I don't even dare to feed it heavy poison now, lest it explodes." After feeding it 50 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid, it only grew 1 level. If I want to feed it, I need to have the money to do so. Old Jiang took a sip of the wine, clicked his tongue, and rolled his eyes. "Do you really think that the worm is so fragile?" Han Fei was stunned. "Isn't it said that it's easy to die from overeating?" Old Jiang's face was full of disdain. "How can a poisonous creature that lives on poison be killed by you so easily?" To put it simply, although it was still weak, it could easily swallow 100 kinds of poisons on the Scattered Stars Island. Basically, none of the poisons within 10 levels higher than it can kill it, as long as you don't eat poison as food or drink it as wine. Han Fei was suspicious. "So powerful? It's not written in the book." Old Jiang said, "The book is not omnipotent. There are some things that you haven't tried and don't know how powerful they are. The stranger and more powerful the poison you use, the higher the possibility that the heaven spirit detoxifying insect may mutate. What's more, it's said that this thing can awaken its ancestors. However, no one knows about that." Han Fei was stunned. "Then you just put this insect in the logistics division? What if it is bought by someone else?" Old Jiang sneered. "Impossible. The outside world's knowledge of the heaven spirit detoxifying insect is not as good as yours. You even know to treat it as the second choice. They only know that this insect is extremely easy to kill, just like an antidote pill. After using it once, it may die. Tell me, who would be willing to buy it at such a high price?" Han Fei wondered, is it that bad? Has no one read the Encyclopedia of Spiritual Plants? Old Jiang scoffed. "You still have the spirit gathering scripture. What have you learned?" Han Fei immediately thought of something. If the heaven spirit detoxifying insect was as powerful as the old man described, wouldn't he be able to feed it like crazy now? Old Jiang said, "However, don't feed them too much. Prepare more spirit awakening fluid. You can't just use it to improve yourself. You will find that you need more and more spirit awakening fluid. Find a way to raise the heaven spirit detoxifying insect to level 40. It is very likely that it will mutate once." Han Fei was shocked. In this way, he had neglected the power of the heaven spirit detoxifying insect. Seeing that Han Fei was so lost in thought that he forgot to move his chopsticks, Jiang Qin coughed. "Let's eat. Let's talk about it after dinner." After a while, the 3 of them were full. There was still a lot of food left for a blue-tide turtle. Han Fei lay in the chair. "Sister Qin, where do you work now?" Jiang Qin said lightly, "The Pioneer Group." Han Fei smiled. "The Pioneer Group that can go to sea every day? The casualty rate is also high. Don't think about it for the time being. You need to settle down now. During the few years in the unknown place, at least for the first year, don't think about going to sea." Han Fei waved his hand and said, "I don't want to go. I found that those half-mermaids are a bit powerful. The royal maids are extremely powerful and hold divine weapons in their hands. I'll go when I can refine a divine weapon." Puff, cough, cough. Old Jiang was speechless. "You only know how to brag all day long. Can you refine a divine weapon just because you want to? Do you have the materials?" Han Fei said seriously, "I've thought about it. If I can refine an ultra-quality spiritual weapon with arrays, I may be able to refine a divine weapon." Jiang Qi nodded. It's extremely difficult. So far. Anyway, ordinary people don't have this hope. Han Fei immediately grinned. Hasn't someone refined one before? What's his name? Han Guanshu, yes. That's him. Old Jiang and Jiang Qin looked at each other in dismay. Old Jiang asked in astonishment, "Where did you learn this name?" Han Fei narrowed his eyes. "From the two just now, Guan Qingyin and Mu Jie. Aren't they from a refiner family in the Thousand-Star City? Besides, he told me about the idea of an ultra-quality spiritual weapon with arrays. I think it's possible." Old Jiang snorted. "What's your level?" "Saying that you're a dabbler is a compliment. It's quite difficult to master it quickly. However, if you have a spiritual weapon and want to try it, you can take it out and let me have a look." Han Fei pondered for a while. It shouldn't be a problem to show the overlord in front of old Jiang and Jiang Qin, right? After all, they were already so familiar with each other. If he still had doubts, who else could he trust in this world? Immediately, an iron-towering brawny man more than 2 meters tall suddenly appeared behind Han Fei. Puff! Clang! Old Jiang lay down on the chair. "What the hell is this?" Jiang Qin's eyes widened. "Is this a human-shaped, ultra-quality spiritual weapon?" Han Fei chuckled and said, "I've spent a lot of materials and spiritual energy on this. I don't have any money left." With that said, Han Fei separated the armor from the human body. Han Fei said, "Here, my idea is to engrave spirit-gathering arrays all over this puppet's body, serial defense arrays on the armor, and a knife with killing arrays. In this way, when it goes to battle, it will be full of spiritual energy and can attack and defend at the same time. TSK, it should be able to defeat a peak-level hanging fisher, right?" Old Jiang and Jiang Qin were both astonished. Old Jiang stepped forward and glanced at the overlord, then at Han Fei. "Boy, you're really crazy." Jiang Qindao frowned and said, "The price is a bit high. There are some people who want to refine puppets. However, there are very few people who can afford it. How many materials did you save to refine such a puppet?" Han Fei chuckled. Not much. I basically lost all my money." Old Jiang knocked on it with his hand. "You haven't sealed a soul yet." Han Fei nodded. "Of course, I think it's best to find a powerful and fierce creature to seal a soul with. It's just that I haven't had a chance to find one yet." Old Jiang asked, "What are you going to seal?" Han Fei shook his head. "I haven't decided yet. At least an exotic one. It would be better if there are mutant ones, and it would be great if I can find a legendary one." Old Jiang rolled his eyes. "Do you think legendary creatures are as common as cabbages?" Han Fei thought to himself, "Puffed, you've been infected by me. Shouldn't you be talking about little white fish?" Jiang Qi nodded. "Exotic mutant creatures. There's still some hope. If it's such a battle puppet, I'm afraid the Blood Fiend octopus is the most suitable." Han Fei was stunned. Blood Fiend octopus? What is that? Old Jiang shook his head. "It's indeed difficult. With your current knowledge of arrays, it's almost impossible to complete the serial engraving. Forget it. Leave this puppet here and come back in half a month." Jiang Qi nodded. "Then I'll find a way to get you a Blood Fiend octopus. Can I seal it if it's not more than level 50? Han Fei nodded like a chicken pecking rice. "Yes, no problem. Only a fool wouldn't use it." Since old Jiang could give him the spirit-gathering scripture, he must have a high attainment in arrays. At least his attainment was higher than Han Fei's. Giving the Overlord to him was definitely better than carving arrays on it. After talking about the Overlord, old Jiang said, "Take out the spirit-gathering scripture. I will only interpret it for you once. How much you can learn depends on yourself." The third chapter. Please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 675. 3 months had passed. Han Fei didn't realize that he had been on the Scattered Stars Island for half a year. Ever since he met old Jiang and the others in the Twisted Jungle last time, he had been going there almost every half a month. After listening to old Jiang's explanation, Han Fei's research on arrays was suddenly enlightened. After all, Han Fei found that self-study was completely different from being taught. When he read the spirit-gathering scripture before, Han Fei was always drawing arrays, memorizing them, studying the method of engraving, and exploring the amount of spiritual energy used. But after old Jiang's explanation, Han Fei found that it was not like that at all. Arrays, to get to the bottom of it, were a kind of power that borrowed the power of heaven and earth, just like how a manipulator summons spiritual plant from the void. Therefore, rote memorization was never the right way to learn. At this moment, Han Fei was lying in the treehouse, gathering spiritual energy on his fingertips and drawing in the void. Every single line was drawn according to his own will. Killing arrays were meant to kill, so they were guided by spiritual energy and tried to control everything in the field as something that could be used in battles. Moreover, the array formation not only required the support of spiritual energy, but it also required artistic conception. For example, the invincible fighting intent. When drawing with spiritual energy, the method of drawing was also crucial. Also, it involved the amount of power that could be borrowed from heaven and earth. The strength of an array was related to the amount of power that could be borrowed. When the array in his hand was completed, Han Fei withdrew the spiritual energy on his fingertips, and the array dissipated. This was the 18th array that he had learned. The 18 arrays mentioned here were the ones that Han Fei could use at any time. In just 3 months, he had learned more arrays than he had in the past 3 years. Among them, there were still some that he could slowly draw, depict, or set up. Downstairs, Chao Qiu shouted, Han Fei, we really can't hide this time. We have to go." Han Fei turned over and jumped out of the treehouse. "I told you, we have to keep a low profile. We're not strong enough right now. If we're assigned to a job that requires us to go to sea, we'll be easily targeted by the half-mermaids. By then, we'll be even more miserable than those in the level 3 fishery. Miserable doesn't help. The Scattered Stars Island is not raising you for nothing. After such a long time of accumulation, you still haven't improved?" It was Yang Dao. This was the first time in 3 months that this 7-star powerhouse had come in person. Yang Dao glanced at Han Fei. "Then, you must be a peak-level junior hanging fisher. Looking at the time, according to your previous speed of improvement, you should be able to break through, right?" Han Fei grinned. "A little bit more, but it should be soon." Yang Dao said casually, "Whether you are fast or not, you have half a month at most." Han Fei was stunned. "Huh? Half a month, why?" Yang Dao said casually, "I don't mind telling you. A brand new mystic realm was about to be opened, but it was more than 8,000 li deep into the sea. So, we and the sirens are aiming at this place." Han Fei was briefly stunned. "Does this have anything to do with us?" Yang Dao said, "There's a large-scale seal in that treasure trove. In the initial battle, in order to open this secret realm, humans and sea demons had suffered heavy casualties. In the end, they reluctantly reached an agreement. Both sides would send in some of their younger generation experts." Han Fei gasped. "A hanging fisher? I'm just a junior hanging fisher," Yang Dao said. "You'll be an intermediate one soon. At the very least, you won't have to worry about running into people above the hanging fisher level in the treasure trove. They can't get in at all." Chao Qiu said, "I'm not going. I don't want to fight. I can make poison for Han Fei." Yang Dao glanced at Chao Qiu, who felt cold all over as if he were stuck to ice. Yang Dao said in disdain, You can't go even if you want to." Chao Qiu was instantly relieved. That's good. Yang Dao looked at Han Fei. "Han Fei, you should make a breakthrough as soon as possible, preferably within half a month. If you have anything to prepare it first. You can report to the Scattered Stars 7th unit later. I need you." Han Fei was rather bummed. In the past 3 months, he had made rapid progress on the path of array formations. He believed that as long as he was given another 3 months, his understanding of array formations would deepen, and he might even be able to attempt to chain several arrays. An hour passed, at the Scattered Stars 7th unit. Before Han Fei took the elevator, he saw Beihua, the brawny senior brother Beihua, wearing a mask, walk out of the elevator. Beihua gave Han Fei a mask and said, "Follow me." Han Fei was full of questions. "Uncle Beihua, where are we going?" Beihua said, "The Scattered Stars 1st unit." Huh. Having been in the Scattered Stars 4th unit for a long time, he naturally knew what kind of people were in the 1st unit. It was said that all the members of the first unit were mysterious and powerful geniuses. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Have I been selected to join the Scattered Stars first unit?" Bei was said, "Yes. However, on the surface, you're still a member of the fourth unit. Also, it's not easy to join the first unit. I think you have to take a test or something. Your performance in the Heaven Human Straight last time was too outstanding, so you were directly sent here this time." Han Fei was confused. "Then why did you wait until now?" Beihua glanced to Han Fei. "Because your level was low back then. But now, after such a long time, your level hasn't improved at all. So, someone wants to see exactly how strong you are right now." Han Fei's heart instantly became heavy. "Actually, I don't really want to join the first unit." Han Fei was still thinking that it was still too early for him to join the first unit. If he had another half a year, he would have been strong enough to fight a peak-level hanging fisher head-on. But right now, he was still not strong enough. Killing a peak-level dangling fisher didn't mean that he was as strong as the dangling fisher. That was borrowing strength, which was completely different from fighting on one's own. For the first time, Han Fei took another elevator in this room. When the elevator descended, the door opened. Immediately, intense spiritual energy came at his face. What he saw was not an underground cave at all, but a brand new world. Here, there were spiritual grasses, green plants, mountain rocks, and green forests. The area was so vast that Han Fei could see was dozens of kilometers. Han Fei was stunned. "Well," Beihua said with a smile, "the Scattered Stars 7th unit is actually established on a treasure trove. This treasure trove is the Scattered Stars 1st unit, a place where heavenly talents are trained." Han Fei immediately gasped. "How many heavenly talents are qualified to come to this place?" Beihua said casually, "Some people may be qualified to come here, but they are too low-key to be discovered. Naturally, those who have been discovered will appear here. The top talents who walked out of this place, if they didn't die, would have been 7-star hidden fishers by now." Han Fei felt the grass under his feet, the fragrance of grass in the air, and the breeze blowing in his ears. He couldn't help but be more curious about the Scattered Stars Island. What he had seen was probably just the tip of the iceberg, wasn't it? While he was talking to Beihua, 5 or 6 people appeared in the stone forest far away. The place was full of black stones, as if a desert had been placed in the middle of the grassland. The newcomers were also wearing masks. The leader's waist tag had actually reached the level of 8 stars, while the others all had 5 stars. Han Fei thought for a moment. He was only 1 star lower than them. The leader said, "Han Fei, as early as 4 months ago, you were already a junior hanging fisher, and you didn't just become one. Why are you still a junior hanging fisher? Why are you still a junior hanging fisher?" Han Fei was speechless. He immediately said, "At that time, I just became a hanging fisher and needed time to settle down. Besides, I was busy with refining, so I couldn't make a breakthrough so fast. Now, I'm almost there." There was no telling if the man believed him or not, but the man said casually, "Today's test for you is to take 1 attack from the 5 people next to me without taking the initiative to attack. If you pass, enter the first unit. If you don't, come back next time when you have the strength to pass." Han Fei's eyelids twitched. "Only take but not attack?" The man nodded. "Only take but not attack. You can also choose to make a breakthrough now, and then take the attack. By the way, don't admit defeat on purpose, or you won't have a second chance to come here." Han Fei frowned. This place was obviously unusual. It must be a place established by the Scattered Stars Island to train talents. So, it could be seen that entering the first unit definitely had its benefits. For example, after entering the 4th unit, Han Fei's refining skills improved very quickly. In fact, when it came to refining, Han Fei just pretended to be good at it. Even if it was a divine weapon, Han Fei had the demon purification pot. However, even the cleverest housewife couldn't cook without rice. Without materials, the demon purification pot couldn't refine a divine weapon, could it? Han Fei had never tried it. In order to better conceal the demon purification pot, he had studied refining deeply to ensure that the demon purification pot wouldn't be seen through in the future. In this way, Han Fei accidentally learned the essence of arrays from Guan Qinyan and found Old Jiang and Jiangqing. He wondered what benefits there were in the Scattered Stars first unit. Han Fei smiled. No need to make a breakthrough. Come on. Fourth chapter. Add chapter. I'll release a chapter first. As for the others, I'll keep them for the new year, or release them slowly. Anyway, there's no shortage of chapters into this chapter. Chapter 676. In fact, Han Fei didn't need to look at their faces to know that these 5 people should be very strong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have asked them to test him. However, the assessment this time was too ridiculous. Han Fei could only allow others to attack him, but he couldn't attack others. Wasn't this very passive? Among the 5 people, a girl walked out first and said in a sweet voice, "I'm good at speed. I'm a hunter. All you have to do is not let me hurt you. Otherwise, you will lose." Han Fei had long been used to Xia Xiaochan's flickering figure. Seeing that this girl was just a hunter, he thought to himself, is she more difficult to deal with? Han Fei smiled and said, "Okay, let's have a try." As she spoke, the girl's figure had disappeared, and Han Fei immediately felt a gust of wind under his armpit. She's really fast. Han Fei's figure flickered, and he was only 1 centimeter away from the dagger, narrowly avoiding the knife. Before he came back to his senses, he felt a stab on his back. Han Fei crouched with one hand on the ground, turned around, and turned around. Then he saw a dagger about an inch away from his chest. At that time, Han Fei grabbed the woman's wrist with one hand. The latter seemed to be smiling and let Han Fei grab her. But Han Fei didn't panic. He grabbed the woman's hand and hooked his wrist, only to see that the woman's other hand was already against his shoulder. Immediately, Han Fei slightly leaned his body and grabbed the girl's indescribable part with his other hand. Swish! The girl immediately stepped back and pointed at Han Fei angrily. "You are shameless." Han Fei chuckled. "How am I shameless?" "You are shameless." Everything happened in the blink of an eye. However, the strength of the people present was not weak. How could they not see Han Fei's action just now? Immediately, someone coughed and said, "Well, forget it. Let me do it." The girl stomped her feet angrily and then walked back to the team. The second one was a man. Han Fei said, "What tricks do you have?" The man said, "I'm not good at speed. I heard that you are very strong. If you don't retreat after taking a punch from me, you pass." Han Fei immediately smiled. "Okay, come on." With a low roar, the air waves under his feet trembled, and flames erupted from his fists, as if tearing the void apart, blasting at Han Fei. Han Fei frowned. His fist was shining with golden light. He didn't use the majestic mystic spell, but his punch was magnificent. Han Fei was thinking that this person probably didn't exert his full strength, or he would have used the majestic mystic spell. Boom! Weeds were flying and smoke and dust were everywhere. More than 20 meters behind Han Fei, there was a long trail of burning flames. The grass and trees on the ground crackled. Below Han Fei, an old turtle lay horizontally, bursting with spiritual energy. It was a coiled turtle array. Seeing the spiritual array under Han Fei's feet, the man couldn't help but withdraw his fist and smiled heroically. "An array? I thought you would use a secret technique." The coiled turtle array was gone. Han Fei tilted his head and looked at the other 3. "Who's next?" A young man holding a sword took a step forward and said, "Just take my sword." Han Fei tilted his head and looked at the 8-star expert. "Am I not allowed to fight back?" The man said, "I can block it." Han Fei grinned. "Isn't that a passive attack?" Immediately, the blood-drinking knife appeared on Han Fei's waist. "Come on." The young man's eyes lit up slightly. Without any nonsense, the long sword in his hand automatically flew in front of him, spun crazily, and then slowly stabbed at Han Fei. Han Fei smiled. This was somewhat similar to Lu Rinquang's bloodthirsty broadsword. The long sword seemed to be moving slowly, but in fact, it was swallowing spiritual energy in the air and constantly growing. Han Fei didn't intend to compete with these people, so he naturally wouldn't wait for the sword to reach him. So, he activated the draw technique. The cold light was as dazzling as the sun in the daytime. In an instant, The knife light directly collided with the sword. Clang! To Han Fei's surprise, the opponent's sword didn't break and actually blocked the draw technique. Han Fei's draw technique contained the invincible knife intent, which was unstoppable. Han Fei looked at the young man seriously. Sword intent. Han Fei's heart slightly trembled. The Scattered Stars' first unit truly recruited unparalleled geniuses. He hadn't figured out the art of knives and swords yet, but someone here had already grasped it. The young man was also shocked. Is this knife intent? Wait. Bam! The long sword flew back, and Han Fei's draw technique still had some power left, so he continued moving forward. However, it was cut into pieces by the young man's sword again. Next to him, Bei Hua and the 8-star expert were also slightly stunned. He was just a junior hanging fisher, but he was so strong. No wonder the higher-ups had been paying attention to him. Han Fei, however, looked at the other two. "What else do you have?" One of them stepped forward. "What a coincidence. I happen to know a thing or two about arrays. I'll set up an array. How about you break it?" Han Fei narrowed his eyes. "Let me ask you, is the Scattered Stars' first unit so strict in recruiting?" The young man said with a smile. "It's not difficult." With that said, blades swept past within 30 meters of Han Fei. Streaks of spiritual energy that were as sharp as knives flew and carved on the ground. After about 10 minutes, a killing array was set up. Han Fei was lost for words. "So, you set up a killing array for me to break. Shouldn't it be a trapping array?" The young man smiled. "It's not a big problem. I don't think it can kill you." Han Fei sneered and stepped on the ground, activating the 6 spirits armor and the coiled turtle array. In the next moment, the coiled turtle formation was filled with clanging sounds. It was actually boundless saber intent that fluttered like snowflakes. Han Fei looked around and found that the lines on the ground were flashing. They were deliberately left out for him to break the array. Han Fei thought that since this was a killing array, he could break it with a killing array. But on second thought, a killing array was more difficult than any other array. If he were to use a killing formation to break it, wouldn't it be too shocking? After all, he had already made some achievements in refining. If he showed his brilliance in arrays, he would be too much of a genius. So, 100 ultra-quality spiritual knives appeared next to Han Fei. The knives turned into a dragon and flew around Han Fei within 30 meters. Han Fei said with a smile, "An array is an array after all. It's not invincible and untraceable." On the ground, the array quickly collapsed, and the boundless knife intent that looked like dancing snowflakes came to an abrupt stop. Han Fei said with a smile, "Thank you." The young man slightly nodded. "I thought you would break it with an array. Then I have to look at you in a different way." At this moment, there was only one young man left. Han Fei had already recognized that the man was tall and strong. The familiar aura belonged to none other than Tang Ge. Han Fei didn't expect Tang Ge to be here. This guy was always unexpected, and it seemed that his level should be higher than Han Fei's. Han Fei chuckled. "Why don't we just forget about the last round?" Tang Ge said with a smile. "We have to pretend. Let's see how much stronger you have become in the past year." Bei Hua was surprised. "Do you know each other?" Before Tang Ge spoke, Han Fei said, "We've fought before." The 8-star powerhouse couldn't help but let out an "oh." "Who won?" Tang Ge said, "It's a tie." This sentence of a draw caused the hearts of the others to tremble. The sword-wielding young man said, "That makes sense." The embroidery needle appeared in Han Fei's hand. He looked at Tang Ge and said, "Let's compete in strength." Tang Ge nodded. "Of course." Immediately, a big halberd hit the ground, just like the time on the steps into the sea. On Tang Ji's arm, 3 waves of energy spurted out in a row, and the big halberd swept across the sky, tearing the air apart and raising a gale. Han Fei swung the embroidery needle and injected spiritual energy into it, making it look like a pillar of light. Clang, clang, clang. Explosions rang out one after another. Sparks flew in midair, and airwaves rushed in all directions. The grass on the ground was bent by the gale and couldn't stand up anymore. After 10 consecutive strikes, the two looked at each other and immediately put away their weapons. Tang Ge didn't use his spiritual beast, and Han Fei didn't use any secret techniques. In fact, in terms of strength, Han Fei felt that Tang Ge didn't use all his strength, and he also benefited from the embroidery needle. Therefore, both of them seemed to be at ease and seemed to be on par with each other in strength. After this battle, Tang Ge took off his mask. I was wondering why you went to the 4th unit. The others also took off their masks. Han Fei was surprised to find that the person who punched turned out to be Chen. Chen also looked at Han Fei at this moment. Just now, I wanted to use my full strength. I was afraid that you didn't want to join the 1st unit, so I didn't use my full strength. I want to fight with you later. Han Fei rolled his eyes and said, I remember you messed up my plan twice. Don't give me a chance, or I will press you to the ground and beat you. As for the other 3, Han Fei didn't know them, especially the little girl, who was still looking at him angrily at this moment. Shameless. Han Fei sneered, suddenly raised a shiny thing in his hand, and tilted his head to look at her. Seeing this, the girl was stunned, quickly touched her ear, and then said angrily, When did you steal my ear stud? Han Fei threw it at her casually. You're a bit slow. This. The boy who used a raise took a breath. Bro, you're really good. The girl frowned. You said I'm not fast. Do you want to do it again? Han Fei said, No need. I have a phobia about hunters. Don't wave a dagger in front of me. First update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 677. The 8-star expert gave Han Fei a lot of pressure. The man gave Han Fei a similar feeling to Xiao Zhan's when he attacked with his full strength. Han Fei's first impression was that the man was a peak-level hidden fisher who could kill him with his breath. Although Uncle Bei was seemed to be a hidden fisher too, he didn't have such a feeling. It was as if the smell was forcefully created, and it carried a trace of indistinct, baleful aura. The 8-star expert said, Since you two know each other, you're my acquaintances. My name is Liang Tian, the leader of the 1st unit. I'll call someone when the 1st unit has a mission. According to Liang Tian's introduction, the hunter girl was named Yi Xiangxiang. She was best at weird movement techniques and saber techniques. The young man who used a raise was named Meng Yi. He was much better at a raise than Han Fei was. It was said that he could draw more than 500 rays. The man who used swords was named Ning Dong. He was not arrogant, but rather warm. However, this man was not only a soul warrior, but also an armorist. He didn't carry out his real strength in the previous attack. Han Fei said, That's not right. I noticed that a lot of people weren't here during the battle in the Heaven Human Strait. Chao Tian, Yi Baiyu, Chao Jiaran, Mu Ling. If you're here, shouldn't they be here too? Liang Tian's lips curled. You do know a lot of people. They're all here, except that they're not here right now. You should get to know each other first. We'll gather in half a month. Han Fei, Yang Dao must have told you that there's a mission in half a month. So, make breakthroughs as soon as possible. Stabilize yourselves after the breakthrough. There will be a great battle by then. After that, Liang Tian and Bei Hui tilted their heads and walked to the woods far away side by side. When only the 5 of them were left in the crowd, Han Fei spoke to Tang Ge telepathically. You don't need to act so familiar. I'm probably being watched. Tang Ge frowned. What are you being watched for? Han Fei said, Some trivia in the Scattered Stars prison. Han Fei didn't explain. He simply looked at them and walked to Meng Yi. As if they were close, Han Fei suddenly put his arm around Meng Yi's shoulder. Brother Meng, it's an honor to meet you. Meng Yi was stunned. Huh? You know me? Han Fei said with a smile. I didn't know him before, but now I do. Brother Meng, there are a few formations that I have some questions about. I heard that Brother Meng is an expert in formations and has stepped on tens of thousands of formations. I really admire you. Cough, cough. That's too much, too much. What does Brother Han not understand? There may be too many. Let's do it one by one. Next to him, Ning Dong said, Han Fei, you just came in. Don't just hang out with Gue. Let's get to know each other. After all, we still have to go together in half a month. Han Fei immediately slapped his thigh. Yes. Let me introduce myself. I'm Han Fei, good at refining and cooking. Do you want to eat? Yi Xiangxiang stared at Han Fei in disdain. You're just a glutton. An hour later, Yi Xiangxiang held a crab leg at her hand and was wolfing it down. After finishing one leg, she wanted to look for more, only to find that there was only the crab shell left in the pot. Immediately, Yi Xiangxiang said, "Shameless. Han Fei, what did you do? How can it be so delicious?" The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. "Do you think high cultivation talent is everything?" One day, I suddenly had an epiphany. The ocean is so vast. Why are we mediocre? Why can't we eat? So, I devoted myself to studying. Han Fei whistled for a while. Anyway, he didn't know what he was bragging about. Tangu shook his head and thought that Han Fei was much more cheerful. However, the other four didn't think so, including Chen Aochen. They all felt that Han Fei couldn't have made such delicious food without an epiphany. After eating and drinking, Han Fei and Tangu found an excuse and slipped away. Fearing that someone might be eavesdropping, Han Fei set up a soundproof array and a spirit-blocking array. Then, the two of them finally talked. "I have something to say." The two of them spoke at the same time. Tangu grinned. "You first." Han Fei frowned. "Do you know what her father's name was?" Tangu was stunned. "Have you been asking about Uncle Han too?" Han Fei asked in surprise. "You've been asking about him too?" "I vaguely remember that everyone called him Boss Han, but I really don't know his real name." Tangu grinned. "He called him Boss Han, but everyone called him Uncle Han. I don't know his real name either." Han Fei said, "Mu Ling's status should be high, and she must have a lot of sources of information. Can you ask her about Han Guanshu?" Tangu was stunned. "How do you know?" Han Fei was also stunned. "Have you also found this person?" Tangu smiled bitterly. "I've already inquired about this matter. Before I came to the level 3 fishery, I was already investigating it." Han Fei took a breath. Seriously? Han Fei didn't think that Han Guanshu would have anything to do with him. He just felt that something big must have happened 30 years ago. Not only the Thug Academy, but also the Scattered Stars Island and the Thousand Star City. Han Fei just guessed that the root of everything should be the Scattered Stars Island. Tangu shook his head slightly and said, "I can't find any information. I once suspected that this person was my foster father, but there was too little information and many things became unsolved. However, there is one thing. He is not necessarily dead. It's very likely that someone wanted to hide something, so they made up an excuse." Han Fei frowned tightly. "I don't think so. The time doesn't match." Tangu also nodded. "Indeed, there is some problem with the time. But in fact, it's not a problem. I wonder if you have ever thought that he is not dead, but is just hiding in the Heavenly Water Village?" Han Fei complained. "Then my mother should still be alive. Han Guanshu used to be the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Did he go to a random village to marry a wife and have children? Then he was too careless, wasn't he? He couldn't even escape, and he was still in a mood to find a girlfriend?" Tenga was also a little confused. This is indeed a question. However, it may just be that some part of the story that we don't know has been covered up. In any case, I think it's very likely. Han Fei waved his hand. "Since you have already investigated it and still haven't found anything, it means that we are not qualified to know that period of history yet. By the way, why did you come to the Scattered Stars First Unit?" Tangu said with a smile. "Before I came to the Scattered Stars Island, many people from the Thousand Star City had participated in a secret realm battle. At that time, it was said that it was to test the trial takers and get a Starways tag. Unexpectedly, it was a real secret realm battle, and the other side of the battle was the best of the sea demons. Many people from the Thousand Star City died, and some were wounded and forced to withdraw, but they still won in the end." Han Fei asked in surprise, "So, you participated in the war with the sea demons from the beginning?" Tanga nodded. "Yes, and let me tell you one thing. Around the Scattered Stars Island, there are as many secret realms as there are stars in the sky, and undersea chimneys pop up from time to time. Every time they open, there will be a battle. Sometimes it's a battle between the strong, sometimes it's a battle between the heavenly talents, and sometimes it's even restricted by level. The people of the Scattered Stars First Unit mostly participate in this kind of secret realm battle." Han Fei's eyes widened. "Wow, doesn't it mean that there are a lot of treasures to grab?" Tangu shook his head. "Not necessarily. Some secret realms are relatively safe, and only the sea demons are dangerous. Some secret realms are extremely dangerous, and human beings may even cooperate with sea demons. Han Fei was stunned. Cooperate? Tengu sighed. That can't be helped. However, the premise of cooperation is that we can't harm our own people, or the consequences will be very serious. Han Fei suddenly looked at Tengu up and down. What's your current strength? Tang Ji's body trembled with spiritual energy. I'm a peak-level intermediate hanging fisher. Han Fei thought for a moment. That's right. He hadn't seen Tengu for more than a year. To be precise, it had been 15 months since they last met. According to Tang Ji's level 7 spiritual heritage, he must have deliberately suppressed himself to become a peak-level intermediate hanging fisher. Tengu looked at Han Fei. Not bad. You're already a peak-level junior hanging fisher, right? What you did was right. You should crazily suppress your cultivation and cultivate every level to the extreme, which is far better than making a quick breakthrough. Han Fei said with a smile. Come on, I've known that for a long time. However, does the Scattered Stars first unit often take action? Tengu nodded. Yes, but usually not the same group of people. The Scattered Stars first unit didn't have as few people as imagined. Many people were mixed with the ordinary exploration groups and other teams to participate in the operation. Sometimes, the people of the Scattered Stars first unit will be scattered to multiple secret realms at the same time. Of course, you can choose not to go to the ordinary secret realms, but only the more special secret realms will be mandatory. Han Fei sneered. So, I was forced to go to the secret realms? Tengu nodded. Yes, Senior Liang Tian must have asked you to join after testing your comprehensive factors. This means that you stood out in the assessment of the 36 towns. Han Fei remembered the exam that made his blood freeze. That was the result of all negative comments. How did you stand out? Han Fei smiled and shook his head. Then where do you live now? Would he be assigned to some organizations on normal days? For example, the Senior Scouts, the Pioneer Group, the Guild of Fishers, etc. Tengu shook his head. I'm in the Pioneer Group. Han Fei hummed and suddenly remembered that Jiangqin was also in the Pioneer Group. Was it a coincidence? Han Fei asked, Do you know Jiangqin? Tengu smiled. Of course I do. If you hadn't told me, I would have never thought that the former manager of the port of the Heavenly Water Village would become the captain of the Pioneer Group. Han Fei asked, Does she still remember you? Tengu nodded. Yes, but she hasn't talked to me alone. Han Fei scratched his head, feeling a little tired. Something seemed to be wrong. Second update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 678. 10 days passed. Late at night, Han Fei was investigating at night with Yuling Yun and the others. They were floating on the surface of the sea 100 kilometers away. Han Fei glanced around and didn't find any special creatures. Let's go around it again. Wu Xiaoxiao asked cautiously. Captain, are you leaving? Han Fei was stunned. Why do you ask? Wu Xiaoxiao sighed. You're a 3-star refiner, a spirit sealing refiner, and a 7-star expert often come to you. Aren't you leaving? Yuling Yun was as calm as before. Being a scout is not a long-term job. Everybody is leaving. It's only natural that the captain is leaving. Leng Hui nodded. Although the captain has only been here for a short time, we've been improving very fast. Gu Daliang grinned. Yes, I'm an intermediate one. Han Fei chuckled. Why? You don't want me to leave? I'm not leaving yet. You'd better hurry up with your training. What if I have to stay for a long time? Suddenly, Han Fei thought of something and said to them, Yuling Yun, you lead the team to continue the investigation. I'll go to the sea to catch some food. Yuling Yun. Before they asked, Han Fei simply jumped off the fishing boat. Hundreds of meters in the sky, Han Fei smashed into the sea with a splash. Cutting apart a few big swordwater fleas easily, Han Fei stomped on the ground, and a concealment array appeared. Then, he set up a breath concealment array. Han Fei took out his fishing rod and cast out the hook. In the seawater and the mud, a shadow suddenly jumped out and was about to escape. Han Fei had already slashed out, and the light of the knife appeared 800 meters away. Han Fei sneered. Who are you? You've been following me for more than 1 or 2 days, haven't you? The shadow slashed out the daggers in her hands, only to explode abruptly. She turned into a cloud of black smoke, and with a flash of light, she appeared 4,000 meters away. A woman? A flash stone? Judging from the person's body reaction, Han Fei could tell that it was a woman. Han Fei swam quickly to that side. While swimming, he cast out the hook again. This time, Han Fei had injected abundant spiritual energy into the hook. Bam! For 1,000 meters away, the person reacted quickly. Just as he was hooked, a piece of his flesh was cut off, and he escaped again. This time, she used more than 5 flash stones in a row and moved out of Han Fei's range of perception. Han Fei frowned. They're human beings. His movements are so agile, and his reaction speed is so fast. Is he a hunter? Han Fei didn't remember offending a hunter. These days, he felt that someone was following him more than once, but most of the time, he used the array to shake them off. He had guessed that the man must have been sent by the Scattered Stars prison. But now that he thought about it, he realized that people from the Scattered Stars prison shouldn't have been discovered so easily. Was she not from the Scattered Stars prison? This time, the woman finally appeared in the sea. Han Fei wanted to capture him in one fell swoop, but the man's skills were not bad. Seeing that the man had run away, Han Fei stopped chasing him. No matter who it was that wanted to deal with him, since they did not come personally, there was nothing to fear. Han Fei set up a formation and sat cross-legged. It was time to make a breakthrough. Otherwise, being stared at all day wasn't something that would make one feel good. What he didn't know was that 30 kilometers away from Han Fei, a girl in black showed a look of horror. How is it possible? I'm 3,000 meters away from him, and I'm still invisible. How could I still be discovered? The girl's eyes were cold, and she threw a healing pill in her mouth casually, cursing, Han Fei, you and Xia Xiaochang will be killed by me sooner or later. Half an hour later, Han Fei opened his eyes and frowned slightly. My upper limit of spiritual energy is 11,101 points. More than 1,100 points? But my body... Han Fei stretched his body and felt it silently for a while, frowning even more. My upper limit of spiritual energy has increased, and my body has grown a little. But this time, it's a natural growth, and the improvement is not exaggerated. It seems that it will be a little difficult for me to make a breakthrough later. Han Fei immediately swallowed 2 mouthfuls of spiritual fruits, took out dozens of soul crystals, and began to refine them. After a while, information popped up in Han Fei's eyes. Owner Han Fei, level greater than 44. Intermediate hanging fisher. Spiritual energy greater than 146,655. 11101. Spiritual power 1. 782/1. 799. Perception range greater than 17,999 meters. Spiritual heritage level 5. High quality spiritual beast. Twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish level 38. Main art void breaking technique. Volume 4 of void fishing. Demon level divine quality. He had memorized 40 pieces of the God-scaring painting, and his spiritual power reached the upper limit again. His perception range had increased by 3,500 meters. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. There were 1,000 pieces of the God-scaring painting. So far, he had only memorized 4% of it, but his perception range was already so large. If he memorized all of them, wouldn't he be able to reach 1,000 kilometers with a single thought? Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. The skeleton shore seemed to have become safe, and no major events had happened for nearly 3 months. It was said that it became a legend on the Scattered Stars Island that the man-fish had abandoned the skeleton shore. Han Fei, the captain of the skeleton shore, was eating hot pot on the grass of the Scattered Stars first unit, with Tang Ge sitting next to him. Originally, there were only the 2 of them. However, as if she didn't see Han Fei's eyes, Yi Xiangxiang just sat down, took out chopsticks, and began to eat. Han Fei was speechless. Wait, you really don't regard yourself as an outsider? Yi Xiangxiang nodded. As comrades, we should help each other. By the way, in this mission, you are a spirit gatherer. You can't expose your strength as a soul warrior unless it's a critical moment. Han Fei wondered why. They say it's to preserve our strength. Not only you, but another person was also sent in this time. You know her. Han Fei wondered again. Do I know her? While they were talking, Han Fei saw a group of people appear, including a familiar figure in the forest. He was stunned. Gong Yuan? Liang Tian said, don't eat. Get familiar with each other first. This time, a total of 7 of you will set off. Han Fei, I know you're good at disguising. You have to disguise yourself for this mission. Han Fei blinked. Do I need to disguise myself in this secret realm battle between sea demons? You were in the limelight in the battle at the Heaven-Human Strait. If you don't disguise yourself, they won't let you in. Even if they let you in, they will definitely send more people. So, you will disguise yourself as an ordinary spirit gatherer and join an ordinary team. Gong Yuehan will be responsible for your safety. In fact, the 2 of you are their hidden backup plan. Don't expose your strength until the last moment. Even if Gong Yuehan is exposed, you have to stay calm. As he talked, Liang Tian handed Han Fei a fish skin with the portrait of a stranger on it. Han Fei asked, this is a spirit gatherer in the Guild of Fishers named Duan Jiang. He's famous and not bad. He's a peak-level intermediate hanging fisher and quite talented in spirit gathering. He died in a battle 2 days ago, but nobody knows about it yet. Wait, Han Fei suddenly said, Senior, why do I feel that this is not a defense against outsiders, but against traitors? Can the sea demons find out the personal information of the people on the Scattered Stars Island? Instead of giving a precise answer, Liang Tian narrowed his eyes and said, everything is possible. It's always good to be prepared in advance. Han Fei pointed at Gong Yuehan. What about her? Gong Yuehan is famous, isn't she? She's a heavenly talent of the Jade Fairy Palace. How can I not know about her? Liang Tian said, if something did happen, Gong Yuehan must have let them discover her on purpose to make them think that she's a hidden expert. Moreover, Gong Yuehan didn't have any particularly outstanding performance in the past half a year. If the other party found any clues, they would only target Gong Yuehan. If the other party doesn't find out, both of you are backup plans. Han Fei took a deep breath. This task didn't sound simple. Gong Yuehan looked at Han Fei with curiosity and a trace of annoyance in her eyes, but she was quite quiet and didn't say anything. Liang Tian said, the captain this time is Meng Yi. After entering the secret realm, he would listen to Meng Yi's orders. If necessary, everyone except the 7 of you can be sacrificed. Hearing this, Han Fei's pupils shrank. The first thing that came to his mind was not that there was anything wrong with sacrificing others. He wondered if Liang Tian had said the same thing to Meng Yi. For example, besides himself, everyone else could be sacrificed? For a moment, Han Fei shuddered. How is this a F*King arcane land exploration? Isn't this a F*King scheme? Meng Yi took over. For the exploration of the treasure trove, we'll summon people from the Pioneer Legion, the Dark Hunter Legion, the Guardian Legion, the Law Enforcement Legion, and so on. None of the newcomers will be weak, but they won't be too outstanding either. This time, there will only be 2 spirit gatherers. So, Han Fei, you, and the other spirit gatherer will be protected by all of us. You can't take action without my permission. Han Fei was confused, but none of the 7 of us are manipulators. Meng Yi shrugged. That can't be helped. The excellent manipulators have all gone to a special secret realm. That secret realm is even more important than ours. We might as well not go there if we don't have a top manipulator. Han Fei was about to speak when Meng Yi said, Luo Xiaobai went too, or she would have been summoned. Han Fei was stunned. Xiaobai joined the Scattered Stars First Unit too? Liang Tian said unhurriedly, earlier than you. Han Fei was lost for words. What about Xia Xiaochan? What about Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang? Liang Tian nodded. I considered all 3 of them. However, Zhang Xuanyu isn't strong enough. Lu Renquang is strong enough, but we need to verify whether or not that guy can fight. As for Xia Xiaochan, she's too hot-tempered and can easily make mistakes. Han Fei thought for a moment. Xia Xiaochan's personality doesn't seem suitable for such a team that is full of schemes. It'll be hard for her to control herself if she goes on a rampage. Meng Yi glanced at everybody. Okay, let's go the third update. Please vote. Do we need to update today? If so, I'll continue to revise it. It'll take a while. End of this chapter. Chapter 679. Liang Tian asked Meng Yi to lead the team. The gathering point was still the sea god square at the center of the Scattered Stars Island. In the sky, Han Fei asked curiously, "Are there any strict conditions to enter the central city?" Meng Yi smiled. "Of course. After you get 6 stars, you can go to the central city. Also, you can go to the Blood Guards who can slay 100 people. However, you're not qualified yet because you were promoted by an exception." Han Fei snorted and thought to himself, "It's a pity that I didn't go to sea. Otherwise, I might have been able to slay 1,000 people." On the central square, only 3 people arrived earlier than Han Fei. 10 people hadn't arrived yet. Hardly had they landed when someone looked at Han Fei, who was in disguise, and recalled, "Huh, are you Duan Jiang from the Guild of Fishers?" Han Fei was lost for words. He had been recognized so easily. Was this Duan Jiang so famous? Han Fei nodded. "That's me." Then, the man immediately frowned. "Are there so few spirit gatherers on the island?" Han Fei glanced at him. "What do you mean?" The man sneered. "Although you're somewhat famous, as far as I know, you can't provide spiritual energy for a dozen people, can you?" Han Fei found that his identity wasn't very impressive. Wasn't he said to be somewhat famous? How could such a famous person be criticized as soon as he arrived? Meng Yi said telepathically, "Hold on. This man is Su Mo from the guards. You're not on his team. There's no need to be angry." Hearing that he wasn't on this man's team, Han Fei couldn't help but sneer. "Then don't come to me if you don't have enough spiritual energy." Su Mo snorted. "A mission is a mission. If you can't do it in a battle, my team and I won't protect you." Han Fei chuckled. "Go ahead. I don't care." Whatever Meng Yi said, Han Fei wouldn't take it lying down. Not to mention that he was losing the big picture. Considering Su Mo's temper, wouldn't he be losing the big picture? A moment later, more people flew over. When there were 16 of them, a pretty girl suddenly jumped from the sky and said, "My name is Su Hongye. Are my teammates Gong Yuehan, Duan Jiang, Chun Chun, and Wang Qing here?" A man carrying an armor box said, "I'm Chun Chun." Another lean man came over. "Wang Qing, hunter." Gong Yuehan said coldly, "Gong Yuehan." Han Fei waved. "Duan Jiang." Su Hongye looked at Han Fei and frowned. "You survived?" Han Fei didn't speak, but slightly narrowed his eyes. Su Hongye sneered. "I'm told that your team is all dead. I didn't expect that you, a spirit gatherer, survived and escaped back." Han Fei sensed uncanny hostility and couldn't help but glance at Meng Yi. Meng Yi felt a headache too. This Su Hongye is rather straightforward. Maybe she underestimated you because you abandoned your teammates. Han Fei sneered. "Captain Su, while it's commendable to die valiantly, it's foolish to die for nothing." Su Hongye snorted. "I don't care what you say. There are only 2 spirit gatherers in this mission. Even if you die, you must hold on until your spiritual energy runs dry. If you desert, you'll be the first to be executed." Han Fei was so angry that his teeth hurt. Who gave him such a face? He hadn't even seen the treasure trove yet, and he had already been insulted by 2 people. The temporary captain of the other team, on the other hand, stood out and said with a smile, "We're all teammates. Why are you angry?" "I'm Zhao Jiai. Everyone, I'm a soul warrior and a spirit gatherer." Su Hongye glanced at him. "I've never heard of you, but are you the other spirit gatherer?" Su Mo nodded. "I'm good at dual cultivation. How much spiritual energy do you have?" Zhao Jiai laughed. "I'm good at it." Su Mo slightly nodded. "That's fine." Han Fei's lips curled. "I'm good at it too. However, I'll keep a low profile and keep a secret." Suddenly, Han Fei felt a gaze. It was Gong Yuan, who was looking at him with her head tilted. Han Fei scratched his chin. "Is there something on my face?" Gong Yuan asked. "I'm just curious. Why did you hold back your desire?" Han Fei chuckled. "When you really need spiritual energy, you have to call me Dad." "Why do they call you Dad?" Han Fei was stunned. Was the fairy so straightforward? Han Fei suggested. Why don't you try calling me Dad first? Gong Yuehan simply turned her head away. You wish. The fact that Liang Tian had arrived late was probably intentional. Seeing that all 20 of them were here, he shouted expressionlessly, as usual, you'll get 20% of the treasure after we conquer the treasure trove. Everybody, let's go. Han Fei subconsciously asked, how much is 20%? Su Hongye frowned. We haven't even reached the treasure trove yet, and you're already thinking about the treasure? Han Fei shrugged. He had no choice. This woman was his temporary captain anyway. He might as well let her have her way. North of the Scattered Stars Island, more than 5,000 kilometers into the sea, when Han Fei and the others arrived, the surface of the sea was slightly shivering, as if something was about to break out of the water. A moment later, everybody saw a lot of human experts, including half-mermaids, red demons, and inferior manfish gathered here. When Liang Tian and the others arrived, Han Fei saw that another 8-star expert was confronting a sea demon. Liang Tian asked, Old Su, how's it going? The 8-star expert snorted. It's tricky. The seal hasn't opened yet, but a lot of sea demons have come, including at least 10 real heavenly talents. Behind a half-mermaid on the opposite side, about 30 half-mermaids who were still hanging fishers were glaring at Han Fei and the others angrily. Han Fei said, Hey, if anger could kill, we would have died hundreds of times. Su Hongye said, Don't talk. Don't you know how strong the half-mermaids are? Han Fei thought to himself, Of course I do. I fought a half-mermaid twice, and they're unbelievably strong. Their intelligence must be no lower than human beings at all, except for the difference in their race. The way he played his tricks was smooth and slippery. Liang Tian, however, pointed at the half-mermaids on the opposite side, not caring about their leader at all. He simply said, Let's kill them later. Not to be outdone, the leading half-mermaid bared its fangs. Kill them all. Han Fei couldn't help but ask Tanggu curiously, Is it so hard for human beings? It's just a treasure trove. Why do two armies have to fight each other? Tanggu said, For a regular treasure trove, whoever takes it can take it. But such a treasure trove that even peak-level hidden fishers can't open means that the treasures in it are extraordinary. Han Fei was confused. What if the treasure trove is too dangerous for hanging fishers to handle? Tanggu shook his head. No, it won't. In that case, the hidden fishers will fight for it themselves instead of us. Zhao Jiai, the captain next door, said, Everybody protect me. I can kill them as long as I'm alive. Han Fei simply let Zhao Jiai steal the limelight. He thought to himself, You can steal the limelight, and I'll look for treasures. This wait lasted for 4 hours. When the waters sank and the seal was opened, both parties roared at the same time, Come in. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Like dumplings, the human beings and the half-mermaids charged at the treasure trove. The moment they entered the water, the red leaves in the water drifted down like red bugs the size of a palm, covering the sky and earth as they charged towards the sea demon phalanx. At the same time, Mengyi made his move. An ancient jade was thrown out, which instantly formed a defensive formation that was over 1,000 meters long. The sea demons didn't give in either. One of the half-mermaids summoned a companion spirit that whipped the defense array with its tail like a dragon, raising sound waves. One of the half-mermaids simply broke the defense array with a terrifying force and chased after them with the other half-mermaids. Mengyi said to everybody telepathically, Let's not fight. Let's enter the treasure trove first. Su Hongye stretched out her hand, and the red leaves exploded. The seawater quickly turned red as if it had been dyed. Let's go. Let's go. The battle had already broken out before they entered the treasure trove. However, Han Fei's focus had been elsewhere. Suddenly, he was stunned. How many of the half-mermaids have changed? Han Fei's face darkened. As he expected, Liang Tian was right. The sea demons might have a way to investigate human beings. In the chaos just now, 3 sea demons quit the team and were replaced by another 3. While Han Fei was still in a daze, Su Hongye grabbed him and threw him into the treasure trove. Do you want to die if you're absent-minded? Han Fei dove into a red gap that looked like a wound. In the next moment, Han Fei felt that he was surrounded by an uncanny coldness and decay. He sensed that he was in an enormous house. Above his head, something was glowing faintly. On the dome above the light was a naked man who opened his hands. On the ground, thousands of decayed statues were standing in rows, like an army that had been buried underground. They somehow reminded him of the Terracotta Army. However, there were as many as 12 arched doors in this enormous house. 4 of them had been opened, but it was dark inside. There was no telling where they would lead to. Su Mo roared, "Pay attention to those statues. My team, follow me. Open the door at the center." Meng Yi was carving an array, not a killing array, but a maze. Meng Yi instructed, "Tengu, lead the team and investigate the 4 empty gates. Xiang, check the statues. Everybody, gather at the middle gate in 5 seconds." Han Fei looked around and suddenly swam upward. There was no telling if it was because of the hexagon starfish, but Han Fei was interested in glowing things. Therefore, he reached out and grabbed a glowing white bead on the dome in his hand. The moment he picked up the pearl, he felt that the paintings on the dome slightly moved. Su Hongye roared, "Han Fei, what are you doing?" Han Fei was confused. "I'm checking top of my head. It seems to be just a regular pearl. Why are you so nervous?" Su Hongye said, "Spirit gatherers, don't act on your own." Bam! Hardly had Su Hongye said that when some man-fish broke in and crashed into the maze that Meng Yi established. Meng Yi roared, "Everybody gather." "Tengu, what's going on with the 4 empty gates?" Tengu replied, "Something's wrong. I don't think I can enter." Meng Yi roared again, "Su Mo, are the gates open?" Su Mo quickly turned around. "Wait a moment. Kacha!" One of the stones that Meng Yi set up was broken, and the maze was mostly broken in the blink of an eye. Chun Aochen roared and grabbed 2 statues with both hands, smashing them into the maze in a violent way. Chun Aochen shouted, "Prepare for battle." Chapter 680. The reason why they fought before entering the secret realm was that nobody knew what it was like in the secret realm. There were usually 2 situations when one took the lead. One was 1 step ahead, and they would always be ahead. At the very least, they would still be on the same starting line and wouldn't suffer any losses. The other situation was that they were in danger, but the human side was unlucky and didn't gain any advantage. Meng Yi's maze failed to stop these half-mermaids, so the 2 sides entered a state of battle. There were 36 half-mermaids in total. Han Fei didn't know why there were so many, but there were only 20 on the human side. If they were all the half-mermaids of the same level as the half-mermaids he encountered in the Heaven-Human Strait last time, even if the human side was full of heavenly talents, they wouldn't be able to defeat them. Among them, Tengu, Chun Aochen, and Chun Chun charged out. Tengu and Chun Aochen scared the half-mermaids the most, so they fought 3 against 1, trying to suppress them with their advantage in numbers. Of the 4 captains, Meng Yi's opponents were the fiercest, and he fought 2 half-mermaids with golden harpoons. Arrays appeared under Meng Yi's feet, which made Han Fei's heart skip a beat. Specializing in arrays seemed to be a good choice. As another spirit gatherer in the team, Zhao Jiai was surrounded by his whole team. Gong Yuehan and Wang Qing were the only 2 next to Han Fei. Su Hongye was entangled by 3 half-mermaids, and the red leaves around her were falling, reminding Han Fei of the big red trunk. The flying red leaves seemed to be able to burn through the soul. Su Hongye said telepathically, "Duan Jiang, protect yourself. This is just the first confrontation. We haven't seen the treasure yet, so we won't fight to the death." Wang Qing was already invisible and appeared next to Han Fei now and then, blocking some attacks for him. Gong Yuehan's long sword slashed out a sky full of mystic sword shadows. The sword shadows were like a net, covering all the enemies in front of Han Fei. But even so, it couldn't stop the attacks of the half-mermaids. When Han Fei noticed the movement of the water, he moved aside, and a flashing harpoon had been stabbed where he was just standing. Han Fei's face slightly changed. Do the half-mermaids have hunters too? No, it's not a hunter skill. It's a water attribute combat skill that allows one to turn themselves into a part of the water. It's similar to Mo Fian's movement technique. Kill the enemy's spirit gatherer. A half-mermaid roared. Unable to attack, Han Fei said to Gong Yuehan, I'll run away first. You guys fight. With that said, Han Fei rushed out, twisting his body to avoid the harpoons one after another. When the overwhelming sea water shrouded him, Han Fei could always slip away from the gaps of the attacks. Roar! In front of him, Tengu attacked furiously. The halberd floated in the air, and the white dragon roared. The halberd directly blasted a half-mermaid into the group of sculptures. Next to Han Fei, a half-mermaid was suddenly torn apart by a sword light, and Ning Dong, an armorist and a soul warrior, had come to him. Spiritual energy. Han Fei pointed his finger, and spiritual energy surged into Ning Dong's body. The latter let out a low growl, and the 13 swords in his armor box spread out like streams of light. They formed a sword net and directly tore apart the 2 energy water balls that floated toward him. Boom! Seeing that, the half-mermaid who launched the water balls summoned his companion spirit, which was a big scorpion that was as translucent as a crystal. Before he attacked Han Fei, the red leaves rolled over and stuck to the big scorpion, only to explode and shatter its shell. Su Hongye glanced at Han Fei. Spiritual energy. Han Fei dodged a spear and blocked Ning Dong behind him, injecting spiritual energy into Su Hongye's body. Su Hongye was greatly refreshed. She couldn't help but look at Han Fei, thinking his spiritual energy is so pure. It seems that Duan Jiang has something to offer. The battle lasted about 5 minutes, and Han Fei was chased for 5 minutes. When the 4 strange stone men walked out of the 4 void doors, the battle finally came to an end. Meng Yi roared, Su Mo, why haven't you opened the door yet? Su Mo defeated a half-mermaid with a slash and said with an awful face, I can't. There's something wrong with this hall. Meng Yi's face slightly changed. Stop fighting. Hey, we're fighting to the death now. Are you going to stop playing? After a few roars, all the half-mermaids returned, and the first battle came to an end. Zhao Jiai was casting healing techniques on the 2 people next to him. In the 5-minute battle, 2 human beings were heavily wounded, and 3 half-mermaids were killed. Judging from the result, human beings had made a fortune, but that wasn't the case. Han Fei saw that more than half of the half-mermaid's spiritual energy was unstable. They must have used up most of it. Without saying anything, Han Fei pointed his fingers, and Su Hongye, Wang Qing, Gong Yuehan, Tengu, and the others gathered around. Su Hongye took a deep breath. We can't fight anymore. Let's recover our spiritual energy. Tengu said solemnly, something is coming out. The half-mermaids on the opposite side were equally cautious. Some of them were replenishing their spiritual energy too. Han Fei asked in surprise, Are there spirit gatherers among the half-mermaids too? Yi Xiangxiang explained, It's a profession similar to spirit gatherers. Although the half-mermaids seem to only know how to use harpoons, they're also good at battle techniques and arrays. The 4 stone men that walked out of the 4 void doors suddenly let out a gurgling sound. Then, the eyes of the thousands of statues in front of them suddenly glittered. No data appeared in Han Fei's eyes, indicating that they were indeed just statues. However, when the statues moved, some of their heads turned 180 degrees and looked at them. Meng Yi looked awful. They're puppets. It's not a good thing to encounter so many puppets before the treasure trove has been explored. Someone said to Su Mo, You've studied it for so long. Can you open the door or not? Su Mo said gloomily, No, I'm afraid that we can't open the stone door until we kill all the puppets. Meng Yi instantly roared, Those on the opposite side, why don't we join hands and fight later? Okay. Han Fei didn't expect that they would join hands when they were fighting a moment ago. Tengu said to Han Fei telepathically, Don't rely on them too much. You can leave first if necessary. Han Fei said, That's fine. Those people won't die easily. Let me study them first. From the beginning to the end, it was a very simple thing for Han Fei to transmit spiritual energy to others. His focus was not on the door nor on the puppets, but on the roof of the house. Just now, when he picked up the glowing ball, he noticed that the light emitted by the glowing ball was not used to illuminate the surrounding space at all. Everybody could perceive it and had excellent night vision. Why would they need a glowing ball? On the dome of the house, there was a huge mural spreading out. On the mural, a naked man covered the center of the dome with a huge hand. Huh, these lines. Is it an array? Crack, crack. The army of puppets attacked the human beings and the sea demons, respectively. Gong Yuehan followed Han Fei and slashed her sword. The sharp shadow of the sword fell on the puppet, but only cut 3 inches deep. Yi Xiangxiang was twisting the neck of a puppet at this moment. Suddenly, a red light emerged from the puppet and darted at Yi Xiangxiang. Swish! While Yi Xiangxiang retreated, the six-spirit armor covered her body. Following that, she slashed out with her saber and cut down the red light. Data popped up in Han Fei's eyes. Name, Soul Parasite Worm. Introduction, a legendary exotic worm from the boundless, desolate sea. It's ferocious and can absorb the souls of the dead for its own use. It can parasitize and devour the souls of creatures, control them, and turn them into mindless puppets. Level 40, quality, rare, spiritual energy greater than 628 points, effect, inedible, collectible, none, unabsorbable. Hardly had Han Fei finished reading the data when Yi Xiangxiang shouted, "What the hell is this?" When Yi Xiangxiang shouted, a swarm of red soul parasites had crawled out of all kinds of unknown corners and crevices on the dome. Hiss! Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing. He had just come in. He had just come in and encountered such a horrible thing. If he crawled in from the other side and had his soul devoured, wouldn't he become a walking corpse? Immediately, Han Fei spoke to Tang Gu telepathically. "What danger do you feel from the 4 open doors?" Tang Gu replied, "I can't tell. It's like the air of death." Meng Yi said, "Everybody come here. I'll set up the array. Duan Jiang, you help me set up the array. Armorists, clear the stone golems." Zhao Jiai was stunned. "Duan Jiang, you know how to set up arrays?" Han Fei said casually, "A little bit." The dozen or so people were slightly startled. The art of array formations was not so easy to learn. They had never heard that Duan Jiang knew how to set up arrays. Was it his hidden trump card? Han Fei leaned close. "Are you going to set up a killing array?" Meng Yi nodded. "Yes, I'm going to set up a killing array. Can you set up the coiled turtle array for everybody?" Han Fei was lost for words. "Do you think my spiritual energy is worthless?" Meng Yi said, "These bugs can't be easy to deal with in times of emergency. We underestimated this treasure trove." Han Fei's lips twitched. "Let me have a try." Immediately, spiritual energy flashed in Meng Yi's hands, and he waved his swords and sabers in the air, leaving lines of spiritual energy in the air. Han Fei's technique was quite strange, too. Beneath his feet, circles and circles of veined patterns revolved. Strange stones flew out of his hands one after another and stood on the bases of the arrays. In front of Han Fei, a bucket of spiritual spring was quickly turned into spiritual energy and gathered on the strange stone bases. Meng Yi was stunned. "Are you going to set up the coiled turtle array?" First update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 681. Meng Yi knew that Han Fei knew a thing or two about arrays, but a small array was completely different from a big one. It didn't mean that a big array was a big one. Han Fei pretended to be pale. Of course, it's not easy to set up a coiled turtle array for 20 people. It's better to set up a big array. Someone on the half-mermaid side noticed this and said, "Let's kill that spirit gatherer later." Buzz, buzz, buzz. When the soul parasites flew everywhere, a violent pillar of fire rose to the sky on the half-mermaid side. A lot of soul parasites perished in the flames. On Meng Yi's side, the killing array was the shaking water extermination array. It wasn't an array that Han Fei was familiar with, but he had seen it in the spirit gathering scripture. It was one of the more common killing arrays. It was usually used to deal with the marine creatures under the sand. It could clean up some small creatures by shaking them, but it wasn't lethal enough. When the soul parasites broke in, they didn't die immediately. Therefore, swarms of red soul parasites were attracted to the coiled turtle array that Han Fei set up. Han Fei asked, "So, We're in a stalemate now. Someone said, the door can definitely be opened, but there must be a pattern. Su Hongye asked, Duan Jiang, how long can your ray last? Han Fei said with a smile, until I run out of spiritual energy. Su Mo asked, how much spiritual energy have you used? Han Fei thought for a moment and said, 30%. What's wrong? Zhao Jia exclaimed in surprise. You've only used 30% of your spiritual energy? Han Fei said, why are you surprised? I'm still growing. Meng Yi said, okay, enough chit-chat. This treasure trove is full of dangers. The way must be inside the door. Let's figure out how to open the door first. Outside of the array, a lot of soul parasites have been killed, but the number of them didn't decrease at all. In Han Fei's perception, the half-mermaids seemed to be looking for a way too. However, the enemy's scorching flames seemed to be more lethal to the soul parasites. It seemed to have an advantage over Han Fei's team. Dum. Those puppets had begun to attack the coiled turtle array. The torrents of knives and swords of the armorers could not kill so many puppets at once. At this moment, a crack appeared on the great plate turtle array. Su Hongye said, if we unleash our full strength, we should be able to shake off those bugs. But the door won't open. What should we do? Su Mo, let's wait a little longer. There will definitely be a turn for the better. This level is more like a test. Suddenly, Han Fei exclaimed, look, isn't the giant hand in the sky pointing at 5 of the 8 gates? Immediately, everyone's expression changed. Su Hongye roared, what are you yelling for? Su Mo was stunned for a moment. Idiot, can't you just tell us what you found? As soon as Han Fei shouted, the half-mermaids on the opposite side had already taken action. They chose the other 3 doors next to Han Fei. At this moment, everyone actually heard a creaking sound. Everyone's expressions changed drastically. Just as they were about to attack, their expressions changed again. The reason was that Han Fei said telepathically, it's fake. The real door is on the top. Let's wait for them to enter before we leave. Su Mo stared at him. What do you mean? Su Hongye was confused. Make it clear. Han Fei was lost for words. Are you idiots? Why do you think Brother Meng arranged for you to go through the middle door? Meng Yi's lips curled. Our door happens to be the one that the giant hand on the top doesn't point at. So, it's only natural that we can't open it. Su Mo roared angrily. Then why did you ask me to open it here? Han Fei snorted. It's a show for the neighbors. As they talked, all the sea demons had crawled into the door. Meng Yi suddenly roared. Let's go up. Su Hongye, it's your turn. Flames were burning in Su Hongye's eyes, and the tremendous red leaves in the hall exploded, blowing away a tremendous number of soul parasites. The 3 armorists cleared the way with the torrents of knives and swords. Everybody took the opportunity to dash to the dome. As they expected, they found a tiny crack at the center of the giant hand. As Chun Aochen hammered hard, the top of the dome was opened, and a stone door no more than 3 meters wide was opened. When everyone entered, their first reaction was cold. An indescribable chill assaulted them. After their vision was broadened, they found that there was another world above the dome. It turned out to be a world of ice and snow. Everybody saw an enormous temple that was covered in ice and snow. They raised their head and found that it was at least 800 meters high. The temple was so wide that it stretched for dozens of kilometers. They didn't even need to perceive that it was more than 20 kilometers from a distance. The temple was too deep for them to see. They wouldn't know what it was until they entered it. Everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Meng Yi swallowed. We found a relic. Zhao Jia exclaimed. We're going to be rich. Suamo said, not good. We have to find a way to kill those half-mermaids. If the relic is exposed, a war will certainly break out. Su Hongye put a hand on Han Fei's shoulder. Spiritual energy. While pouring spiritual energy into Su Hongye's body, Han Fei said in surprise, Isn't this palace a bit too big? Why hasn't it been discovered until today? Yi Xiangxiang said, There are too many secret realms. Some of them don't even show up. They are buried in the deep sea and never see the light of day. Su Hongye looked at Han Fei. She remembered that Han Fei was the first to reach the top of the secret realm and took a pearl. Was it a coincidence? Su Hongye asked, Duan Jiang, did you know that the entrance was at the top from the beginning? Everybody else looked at Han Fei, and Han Fei said casually, just now, there were so many doors in the hall, and I didn't realize that the road was up there. I speculated that the 5 doors that the big hand pointed at were all roads, except that they weren't easy to walk on. Someone said gloomily, so, you and Meng Yi knew it from the beginning? Meng Yi shook his head. Of course not. I just didn't want everybody to enter the 5 doors. I really didn't notice it at all. Han Fei shrugged. I only confirmed it when the sea demons opened the doors next door. They couldn't have been good doors if they were opened so easily. At this moment, many people slightly frowned. This Duan Jiang seemed different. Both his observation and judgment seemed to be different from ordinary people's. Gong Yuehan had been following Han Fei, but she suddenly found that she hadn't considered these details at all. Sumo's eyes flickered. The question now is, what about those half-mermaids? I think someone has to block their way of retreat. I'm willing to do that. Meng Yi shook his head. No, let's set up a killing array here and enter the palace. Chun Ouchin grinned. That's fine. If those half-mermaids come here, they'll certainly go in too. Meng Yi had already begun to set up the array and said to Han Fei telepathically, help me keep an eye on Su Mo. Han Fei frowned. Why? Why? Meng Yi shrugged. I'm not sure. It feels weird. This guy's trying to block the half-mermaids? That doesn't make sense. Han Fei was immediately alarmed. He secretly activated the eyes of true vision. Spiritual energy swirled in his eyes, but he didn't see anything wrong with Su Mo. Han Fei thought of Mo Qianshang in the level 3 fishery. If a half-mermaid sneaked into human society, the consequences would be terrible. Sumo's face was gloomy. After Meng Yi refused his proposal, he didn't do anything special, but waited patiently for Meng Yi to set up the array like everybody else. It took Meng Yi half an hour to set up the array. However, Han Fei recognized it immediately. The 100-water mystic killing array could simulate 100 killing techniques with water power. It was a rather delicate array. Unfortunately, such an array was limited by the strength of the person who set it up. It was much worse than Han Fei's infinity water. So, Han Fei immediately said, cough. Well, Brother Ming, I bought some highly poisonous things from the logistics division a few days ago. Why don't you put them in this array? If those half-mermaids come, I might be able to poison a few more of them. Meng Yi asked in surprise, you have poison? Han Fei pretended to be surprised. I paid a lot of money for it. Forget it. I'll pay for it myself. Don't thank me. I'm just so selfless. Gong Yuhan's eyelids were cramping. She had heard how terrifying Han Fei's poison was. It was with this poison that he won the steps into the sea, and it was also with this poison that he killed a peak-level hanging fisher when he was only an advanced dangling fisher. Was he going to use it again? In the front, Yi Xiangxiang, Su Hongye, and the other girls couldn't help but spit. There was no cultivator who didn't hate poison cultivators. Although Han Fei didn't seem to be a poison cultivator, the fact that he used poison had left a bad impression on them. Sumo's eyelids were also twitching. There was no telling what he was thinking. The poison god was led into the array and melted into the snow, colorless and odorless. Han Fei smiled and said, everyone, let's go. If they use other paths to reach the palace, we'll be a step too late. Tang echoed, we don't care about tricks against sea demons. Duan Jiang is right. We should go to the palace as soon as possible. Meng Yi simply shouted, let's go. Second update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 682. All of a sudden, Ning Dong, who was running at the front, drew his sword. Snowflakes danced, and a white snowball exploded. Ning Dong roared, something's coming. They were less than 20 kilometers away from the palace. After running for less than 3,000 meters, things popped up from all directions. Snowmen? Or snowfish? Han Fei was lost for words. Big fish leaped out of the snow, but there was still no data in Han Fei's eyes. Did these things regard the snow as an ocean? Not just fish, but also crabs made of snow rose from the snow. Scorpions made of ice were emerging from the ground in groups. Su Hongye asked, get ready to fight. What are these things? Ning Dong said solemnly, they're not strong, but they don't seem to be killed. Chen Chen shattered an ice scorpion. Not strong. They're as strong as new hanging fissures, aren't they? If we stand still, we'll be killed sooner or later. Chen Aochen said, then let's charge. It's only 20 kilometers away. Hardly had Chen Aochen said that when the ground began to shake. On both sides of the enormous palace, the ground was rising, and two giants crawled out of the snow. Hiss! Everyone was dumbfounded. That thing was only a little shorter than the palace. Two gigantic snowmen crawled out of the snow, each holding a huge ice axe in their hands. Han Fei was lost for words. Don't tell me they're the guards. Well, they must be very strong. Su Hongye said, damn it, I feel a trace of fear in my heart. Ning Dong, who was at the front, suddenly roared, look, these little things are not going to attack us. Everybody saw that all kinds of crustaceans and fish creatures, such as snow fish, snow crabs, ice scorpions, and ice lobsters, emerged from the snow and circled behind Han Fei and the others. In all directions, more and more creatures were gathering behind them. It seemed that they were forcing them to move forward. There was no need to fight at all. Those puppets made of snow didn't attack people at all. However, they were driving Han Fei and the others away. Even a fool knew that these things were trying to drive them into the palace. The captains all gasped. Originally, he thought that he had chosen a safe path, but when he saw the two giants that were at least 500 to 600 meters tall, anyone would feel apprehensive. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, when they were already a kilometer away from the foot of the giant, they were shocked to find that in front of them was a path completely made of ice. Behind him, the snow monster army had already stopped hundreds of meters away. It seemed that after driving the crowd here, the rest was none of their business. Yi Xiangxiang said, it seems that we have to run over. Han Fei stretched out one hand, and an ice spear appeared in his hand. The water control technique didn't seem to be bad for controlling ice. Xiao! The spear pierced through the air. In the end, after flying for 100 meters, he saw a wave of air coming from the ice surface, and the ice spear was directly blasted into pieces. The two giants didn't move? Everyone glanced at Han Fei. Ning Dong took out a real spear from his armor box and threw out as well. This time, one of the ice giants gently waved its ice axe. A sharp axe light landed on the spear at an incredible speed. Kacha! The spear was broken. An ultra-quality spiritual weapon couldn't even resist a casual attack from the ice giant. Suemo said, I think it's possible that we chose a more difficult path. Han Fei said with a faint smile, then you should go back. Suemo glanced at Han Fei coldly. What do you mean? Han Fei smiled and said, nothing. It's just that the entrance has been set up with deadly arrays and poisons. It's impossible for us to go back. Ning Dong, who was in the front, said, we can go. Although the axe light is very fast, it's not completely unavoidable. Have you noticed that? The power of the axe light is just enough to cut an ultra-quality spiritual weapon. Someone said, who's going to try it? What if we're cut by the axe light? Yi Xiangxiang asked, do you want me to try it? I feel like I can dodge it. Meng Yi was deep in thought, and Han Fei was staring at him. Yi Xiangxiang's words would let him see if anyone could be sacrificed, including the people of the Scattered Stars' first unit. However, Meng Yi slightly shook his head. Even if we have to rush over, we have to be prepared. It's a shame that I haven't learned the speed array. Everybody, wait for me. I'll learn it right now. Everybody was lost for words. Su Hongye asked straightforwardly, how long will it take you to learn it now? Meng Yi said, it depends. It shouldn't be a problem if it's simple. Well. Su Hongye tilted her head and glanced at Han Fei. It's none of your business. We're working on it. Zhao Jai patted Han Fei's shoulder. There's no way that spirit gatherers can run over. Lost for words, Han Fei stomped on the ground, raising a gust of wind. Meng Yi asked in surprise, huh? Is this the wind travel array? Seeing that everybody was looking at him, Han Fei couldn't help but say, I'm not good at complicated arrays. However, I happen to know two of such common arrays. Yi Xiangxiang's eyes glittered. Why didn't you say so earlier? Put on me. Wait a moment. Han Fei interrupted again, There's something that I don't know if I should say. Su Mo frowned, his face full of displeasure. If you have something to say, then say it. Han Fei chuckled. You're the one who asked me to say it. Seeing that everybody was looking at him in silence, Han Fei raised his voice and said, Are you idiots? Is it fun to risk your life? Why do you have to do such a dangerous thing yourself? Can't you just let the half-mermaids do it? Su Hongye asked, What do you mean? Su Mo asked, You want to summon the half-mermaids and let them go first? Duan Jiang, what's your intention? Han Fei rolled his eyes. Are you really an idiot? Do you think there won't be any problems after you enter a relic of this level? Let the half-mermaids go first, and let the giants kill half of them first. Or you can go first with a group of people and leave a dozen people hide here. When the half-mermaids try to pass, you can attack them from the back. What do you think? Sumo's face immediately darkened. What a shameless method. Han Fei sneered. Why don't you do it openly? Everybody gets out of the way and let him go first. Blabbering all day long, what was my intention? Let's see what you're up to. Tengus suddenly opened his mouth. I agree with Duan Jiang. There are no rules when fighting sea demons. Gong Yuehan nodded. I don't think it's a problem. Zhao Jia asked, This place is so empty. How can we hide? Meng Yi nodded. That's true. We can set up a concealment array and a breath concealing array. The enemy is not strong. It's entirely possible for us to go undetected. Su Hongye looked at Han Fei in appreciation. It seems that you're still useful. At least you're smart enough. If that's the case, I agree with you. If they can go in, so can we. Han Fei smiled and said, However, the best solution is that we need reinforcements on the opposite side. If the sea demons go there and ambush us, it'll be the same as us ambushing them. We may suffer heavy losses. Yi Xiangxiang said, I'll do it. I can make it. Trust me. Su Hongye said casually, Count me in. I should be fine too. Tengu said, Count me in. Han Fei frowned and said telepathically, Why are you going there now? What if the axe is very powerful? Tengu slightly grinned. That's fine. The dragon soul overlord body of the dragon feather lobster has other effects. This place is only 1,000 meters away. We can cross it in half a second. Han Fei asked, Really? Tengu nodded. Yes. Hearing that, Han Fei said to Su Mo, Hey, aren't you going? Since you're so righteous, you should run over first. Then, you can attack the half-mermaids on the opposite side. Su Hongye looked at Han Fei coldly. Don't fight among yourselves. Han Fei grinned. I'm not fighting among myself. Just tell him to shut up, and I promise not to argue with him. Full of killing intent, Su Mo looked at Han Fei. Duan Jiang, are you provoking me? Do you know that you're challenging the captain's authority? Han Fei covered his chest in ecstasy. Ouch, I'm so scared. You make it sound like you're my captain. You want to kill me? If I die, Brother Zhao will be the only one who instills spiritual energy into you. Zhao Jia chuckled. Don't drag me into this. Your conflict has nothing to do with me. Wang Qinghe licked his lips. What a headache. Why don't you play rock, paper, scissors? Whoever wins will stay, and whoever loses will go over. Chen Shun said gloomily. The sea demons haven't arrived yet. Are you going to fight them first? Duan Jiang, you're a spirit gatherer. Why are you provoking him? Han Fei snorted and stomped, creating a breath-concealing array. He stomped again, and a stealth array appeared. Around Han Fei, Su Hongye and the others were all stunned. Han Fei had disappeared right in front of them. Even his aura was feeble. Wouldn't it be easy for him to deceive them if he deliberately controlled his aura? Zhao Jia was lost for words. Brother Duan, I didn't know that you were really an expert in arrays. Meng Yi's eyes slightly constricted. Brother Duan, you've learned the stealth array too? Han Fei stood where he was. What I use are the simplest arrays. They have no effect on those who are much stronger than us. However, they do work on the half-mermaid heavenly talents who are about the same level as us. Don't you agree, Brother Meng? However, exactly at this moment, Su Mo snorted. Okay, I'll go over. Hearing that, Han Fei was not happy but confused. You're really going to go over? Other people have their own trump cards, but what about you? Han Fei instantly spoke to Tang Gu telepathically. Watch out for Su Mo, something might be wrong with this guy. I'm busy today. I just came back from my hometown and moved the New Year's goods. It's already the third watch. End of this chapter. Chapter 683. In front of the ice road, there seemed to be a gap at the gate of the palace, which should be enough for one person to crawl through. Yi Xiangxiang was the first to step on the ice road, and Meng Yi needed absolute trust in her to ensure that she was the first to pass. Only the people in his own department could be absolutely trusted. Along the way, Yi Xiangxiang was just equivalent to an ordinary hunter and didn't show any particularly outstanding performance. However, when she stepped onto the path of ice, her entire body immediately turned into layers of shadows. Then, she disappeared. Han Fei's eyes, according to the flow of spiritual energy, could only vaguely sense Yi Xiangxiang's position, and perception didn't seem to work on this ice road. Huff! The big axe in the ice giant's hand didn't move much. No one knew if it was an illusion, but when the giant axe moved, everyone felt that it was very slow. However, this moment seemed to last quite a long time. Suddenly, on the ice road, Yi Xiangxiang appeared 500 meters away. In everyone's sight, there were always shadows shaking around Yi Xiangxiang's body. It could be said that it was an afterimage, but it wasn't. She seemed to be able to pass through the afterimages at will. At this moment, Yi Xiangxiang put one hand on the ice, bounced out, and disappeared, and the other ice giant moved. The two big axes struck at the same time, and the breathtaking axe light directly cut out Yi Xiangxiang's shadow. Everyone only saw that Yi Xiangxiang's figure flipped between the giant axes. With the power of the giant axes, she directly bounced to the opposite side. When she landed safely in front of the palace on the opposite side, she waved at Han Fei excitedly and shouted something. However, Yi Xiangxiang's voice seemed to have disappeared, and no one could hear what she was shouting at all. Meng Yi said solemnly, "I can't hear you. It seems that this ice road has isolated the communication between us." Yi Xiangxiang also found the problem, so her expression changed from happy to dancing, as if she wanted to say something but couldn't. There was no response, which made her anxious. Tang Ge shouted, "I'm the second one." Han Fei said, "Be careful. Yi Xiangxiang seems to be saying something bad." Tang Ge glanced at Han Fei. "It's okay. I'm faster than her." Tang Ge stepped on the ice road, and with a dragon roar, a white light enshrouded him. Following which, a white dragon shadow completely ignored the snow giant's giant axe and directly rushed out. Han Fei's heart tightened. Was this the special ability of the white dragon feather lobster, or the dragon soul overlord body? No one saw Tang Ge. It was as if he did not exist at all. When the great ice axe cut through the dragon's body, the white dragon phantom actually passed through the great ice axe. In less than half a breath, Tang Ge had appeared in front of the palace. Everyone was stunned by this scene. Someone asked in surprise, "Tang Ge, where did this person come from? How could he be so fierce?" These people were temporarily transferred, so they were not familiar with each other. To be precise, no one was familiar with Meng Yi's team because they had never shown themselves in front of others. Therefore, when Yi Xiangxiang and Tang Ge both went over, the wounded man in Zhao Jiai's team said, "I'm almost recovered. I'll go too." Zhao Jiai said, "Then take it easy and show your best state. I have a feeling that the snow giants are not simple." The man nodded. "Okay." This man was an armorist. However, he had a contractual spiritual beast, the flying fish, which was a speed spiritual beast. He attached the flying fish to him and stepped on the ice road. Two streaks of light burst out behind him, and he moved as fast as an arrow, with one hand on his armor box in case he needed it. However, there was an accident this time. Everyone saw that the man suddenly burned his essence blood when he was about 300 meters away. Furthermore, he had also activated a secret technique that increased his speed by several times. However, he only managed to dodge the first chop by a hair's breadth. Then, when the two snow giants slashed at him at the same time, everyone thought that he would dodge. As it turned out, the man raised 8 giant shields, put on an ultra-quality battle suit, and covered himself in a spiritual energy protective cover. Is he going to block? Crack, 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 the axe fell, and the giant shields were cut into pieces as if they were made of paper. Then, The man was instantly cut apart and blown away by a wild wind before he fell into the snow far away. A large number of ice and snow creatures pounced on him, drowning him within the ice and snow, causing him to disappear. Everybody looked awful, and Zhao Jiai said gloomily, "No, this snow giant isn't right. It's too strong." But why did he block it? Such an enormous snow giant could have killed him, even if it smashed him, couldn't it? Su Hongye said, "He's not fast enough, and we haven't walked on the ice road yet. I don't know why he chose to block it. Let me." Han Fei glanced at her. "Do you want to wait?" Su Hongye said casually, "That's fine, if we're going to carry out your plan. How can we deal with only 2 enemies? Out of everyone here, I should be the one with the best movement technique." As she spoke, Su Hongye stepped onto the path of ice. Immediately, the ice road was filled with red leaves, as if they were blown by a strong wind. The giant slashed 3 times. But when Su Hongye showed up, she was already in front of the palace. However, she vomited blood and sat cross-legged. Everybody was shocked. Was she injured? Bam! Suddenly, everyone heard a rumbling sound dozens of miles away. Meng Yi's face changed. How can they be back so fast? Han Fei's face slightly changed too. That shouldn't be the case. Did those half-mermaids just wander around the door and then immediately come out? The speed of his return was a little too fast. Everybody looked back, only to see a great array far away. The entrance had become a battlefield. Meng Yi roared, "Hurry up! Who else wants a pass? Pass quickly. My array can't last long. Duan Jiang, set up an array with me." Han Fei looked at Su Mo. "Are you going or not? There's still time for you to pass." Su Mo's face darkened. He purposely glanced at Han Fei, and then he took a deep breath. 4 of them passed, and only 1 died. It shouldn't be a problem for him. Immediately, Su Mo roared, "I'll pass." When Su Mo said that, both Han Fei and Meng Yi's eyes glittered. It was a life-and-death decision. At such a moment, it would be easy for Su Mo to notice something wrong. As he spoke, Su Mo stepped on the ice road and activated a secret technique. His strength was boosted to the peak, and he was also extremely fast. When the ice giant's axe was slashed, he suddenly unleashed his essence blood and passed through the first attack. When the 2 giants attacked at the same time, Su Mo vomited a mouthful of blood. Then he saw a flash of blood. Zhao Jiai said, "Huh? Blood escape? That secret technique has a lot of side effects. Why did he choose this technique?" Ning Dong suddenly said, "I know the blood escape technique too, but I learned it as an armorist. After all, blood escape is unparalleled in the art of escape. It doesn't seem to be a problem." Han Fei's eyes dimmed. He felt that it was a bit weird, but it was true that the man was not a sea demon. Han Fei was greatly relieved. It seemed that he was overthinking. Maybe he was just disgusted by that guy. Meng Yi roared, "The rest of you, dig into the ground now. Duan Jiang, set up a breath-concealing array first, and then a stealth array and a stealth array. Is that okay with you?" Han Fei shook his head. "No problem." Immediately, Chun Chun, Wang Qing, Gong Yuehan, Zhao Jiai, and the others all dug into the ground. Han Fei waved his hand, and snow rolled up and covered his feet. He set up a stealth array and a breath-concealing array. He was so fast that even Meng Yi couldn't help but be surprised. After only 50 seconds, only Meng Yi and Han Fei were left on the ground. The 2 of them looked at each other and dug into the ground. 10 seconds later, there was nothing but drifting snow and silence. On the opposite side, when Tang Gu and the others saw that Han Fei and the others had all dug into the ground and looked at the dense spiritual energy far away, they knew that the half-mermaids had arrived. They entered the palace one after another. After about half an hour, a group of half-mermaids arrived. There were a total of 23 people. They were led by 2 men and a woman, all wearing golden battle suits. At the end of the team, 5 half-mermaids were vomiting and having diarrhea, and 2 of them looked extremely awful. Their bodies were unstable, and they seemed to be suppressing something. In other words, from the moment they entered the gate to the moment the 100-water mystic killing array was broken, 10 people had died. A male half-mermaid said awkwardly, "Cunning human beings, they must have found the way up long ago. At this moment, they set up a poison array to lure us into the trap." The female half-mermaid said, "Fortunately, we have been practicing poison resistance since childhood. Otherwise, we might have been wiped out." A half-mermaid said in extremely obscure language, "This is a relic. We can't leave it to humans." A handsome half-mermaid pointed to a guy behind him who didn't look too good and said, "You go first. Go through." The half-mermaid who was pointed at frowned. However, he was not dissatisfied. After all, there was no one here. Besides, the gate of the palace opposite seemed to have been opened, so he didn't hesitate. However, this half-mermaid had been poisoned by the poison god and had lost 40% of his strength. It was not hard to imagine what would happen if he went up now. He didn't even survive the first slash and was pulled down by a large number of ice and snow creatures. The handsome male half-mermaid pointed at another person. "You go." But this time he was stopped by the female half-mermaid. "Don't die for nothing. Those who are injured, stay here and wait for us to come out." "I'll go." Before the female half-mermaid went up, she was pulled by a half-mermaid behind her. "Let me go first. Asking for votes." End of this chapter.